Chapter 1176. The three incoming ice phoenixes shattered under Xiao Chen's full-force attack. As the snowflakes swirled in the air, Xiao Chen downed 3 cups in a row. Not satisfying enough. Xiao Chen put down the wine cup heavily. He felt his entire body relax, like he was drunk but not drunk. The more he drank, the stronger he became. As you wish. Lu Yang's expression turned slightly unsightly. He stood up, and his aura erupted. Lu Yang's hands moved so fast that no one could see them clearly. Cup after cup of thousand-year snow flew out together with the ice phoenixes and snowbirds. In the main hall, all the geniuses were a little stunned. They did not expect a simple toast to be so majestic. Wearing the fleeting shadow gloves, Xiao Chen looked at the dazzling ice phoenixes. His hands moved much faster than Lu Yang's. Cup after cup, Xiao Chen seemed to be truly drunk. He could not help but laugh loudly in the wind and snow. A strong saber intent spread out from his body. As he laughed, his usual calm was gone, replaced by arrogance and indulgence. Pooh! Lu Yang's movement stopped. He discovered that his wine cup was empty. The 1,000-year snow he brought had already been used up. As for Xiao Chen, he had already drunk more than 100 cups. No more wine? It's fine. I have some. As the saying goes, 1,000 cups are not enough when drinking with a bosom friend. Although young Master Lu and I are not bosom friends, we are both wine lovers. Since you have toasted me 100 cups, I will return 1,000 cups. Xiao Chen put down his wine cup and stood up. His fine black hair fluttered in the wind like a waterfall. Buzz! 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 The empty cups on every table on the second floor started to tremble under the influence of Xiao Chen's 60% comprehended saber soul. However, these cups were not enough. The saber intent spread out, and all the empty wine cups in the hall started to tremble violently. What's going on? The many cultivators in the conflagration restaurant all had horrified expressions. They did not know what was happening. Whoosh! With a thought from Xiao Chen, all the wine cups gathered on the second floor. There were exactly 1,000 cups, no more, no less. All the 1,000-year flame that Xiao Chen collected flew out of the universe ring. He casually waved his hand, and the wine bottle shattered. Golden wine flickered with a golden light as it sprayed out. Not a single drop was spilled, and all of it fell into the wine cup hovering in the air. Buzz! The wine cup shook slightly, and clumps of flame soared up. With the support of Xiao Chen's saber soul, they formed a huge golden crow. The golden crow spread its wings, and a horrifying saber intent pressed down on everyone, making it hard to breathe. A startled cry rang out as the golden crow slowly flew towards Lu Yang, carrying 1,000 cups of 1,000-year flame. When Xiao Chen looked at Lu Yang, this descendant of the Black Sea Saber Sovereign was already scared silly, his legs trembling slightly. Who among the heroes of the world dared to say that they would not be drunk after 1,000 cups of wine? Since you've toasted me 100 cups, I'll return 1,000. Do you dare to drink? The huge golden crow gave off a dazzling, golden light. Xiao Chen's strong 60% comprehended saber soul made the golden crow's aura extremely sharp. Together with the 1,000 cups of 1,000-year flame, the golden crow not only suppressed Lu Yang, the descendant of the Saber Sovereign, but also caused his legs to go soft. Even the descendants of the other great bandits showed stunned expressions. They felt immense pressure, and their hearts pounded heavily. At the same time, they felt some lingering fear. Fortunately, the one who mocked Xiao Chen was not them. Just thinking about the 1,000 cups of wine pressing down on them made them tremble in fear. After 100 cups of 1,000-year snow entered his stomach, Xiao Chen felt slightly dizzy. He had not drunk so much in a long time. Xiao Chen had not gotten drunk in a long time. He could no longer remember the last time he got drunk. Who cares about his identity as the Blue Dragon King? Who cares about being the descendant of the Qing Emperor? Who cares about being a meteor if he does not advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years? This time I'll just get drunk. I don't care about anything else. I'll be arrogant and unrestrained. Xiao Chen's hair and clothes fluttered continuously. His strong saber intent worked together with Xiao Chen's. The tyrannical aura that he had kept hidden in his heart for a long time was unleashed without any reservations. Haha. In the vast Black Sea where outstanding talents gather, there is not a single person who dares to drink with me. As Xiao Qin held the wine cup, he blushed slightly. When he saw the frightened Lu Yang, he could not help but laugh loudly. His laughter was unrestrained, coupled with his drunkenness, making him feel very happy. The strange movements of the wine cups earlier startled the hundreds of cultivators in the hall of the Conflagration restaurant. This was the place where the fiercest cultivators of the Black Sea gathered. However, when they arrived at the top of the restaurant and peeked at the situation on the second floor, they could not help being startled. Damn it! Who's this? How arrogant! How arrogant! Boundlessly arrogant. This is the first time I feel that this Lu Yang is so pitiful. Who would dare to accept these 1,000 cups of wine? This white-robed bladesman seems to be the person who caused a huge commotion recently. He is the one who chopped off the head of the City Affairs Hall's metal puppet. So, it is him. I've heard of him before. I heard that Xia Yang, the descendant of the Thunderfire Sovereign, won in a domineering manner. At that time, he really shocked a lot of people. Seeing Xiao Chen's unrestrained manner, the cultivators who were peeking disgust in low voices. Their eyes filled with worship. The strong reigned supreme, no matter where it was. On the second floor, Ba Yan blushed with shame. This Xiao Chen brother was probably really drunk, daring to say anything. With one sentence, he offended all the outstanding talents present. However, he is arrogant enough. I like it, Ba Yan said with a grin. When Lu Yang heard Xiao Chen's words, his complexion alternated between red and white. He felt very ashamed. Earlier, he had mocked Xiao Chen, but Xiao Chen did not return the toast. Now that he had 1,000 cups, Lu Yang regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. If Lu Yang had to face such a vast saber intent alone, he would not be able to match it. Don't laugh at my Black Sea for having no one. I want Xiao Feng to drink with you. Unexpectedly, the first outstanding talent to step forward was actually Jiang Feng, who had suffered at Xiao Chen's hands once. Xiao Chen's eyes were hazy from drunkenness. When he saw Jiang Feng step forward, he laughed loudly and said, "I'll toast you 100 cups." As Xiao Chen laughed, he waved his hand, and 100 cups of thousand-year flame immediately flew towards Jiang Feng. Every cup of golden wine contained Xiao Chen's strong saber intent. As the 100 cups flew out, they were like hundreds of strands of sharp saber qi. Jiang Feng's face sank. He did not dare to underestimate Xiao Chen. His figure flashed, and his hands moved rapidly. He received cup after cup and placed them in his mouth, directly drinking them. However, after drinking 30 cups, he stumbled and felt dizzy. The strong aftereffects of the thousand-year flame made him feel tipsy. Pusi. After drinking another 10-odd cups, Jiang Feng could no longer hold on. The movements of his hands slowed somewhat, and the cups of thousand-year flame struck him. His entire body was covered in wounds as he went flying. Only now did the crowd realize how strong the aftereffects of peak-quality wine was. How strong was Xiao Chen, who could still stand stably after drinking 100 cups? I'll drink with you. I, Lu Yun, will drink with you. However, Xiao Chen stirred up everyone's hot-bloodedness. With Jiang Feng taking the lead, they all stepped forward one after another. All of a sudden, the originally empty second floor was in chaos. All the outstanding talents of the Black Sea got drunk. The thousand-year flame was a peak-quality wine. Normally, drinking one cup would make one dizzy. After drinking dozens of cups, it was impossible not to get drunk. Amid the chaos, some people's eyes turned bloodshot. Feeling angry in their hearts, they drew their weapons and charged at Xiao Chen. The first to attack was Lu Yang, who was being bullied the most miserably. He drew his saber, and his figure flashed as he executed a killing move. Xiao Chen laughed loudly and gently drifted over. He picked up a cup of thousand-year flame and drained it in one go before dodging. Then, his figure moved swiftly and executed Thunder Dragon steps. He took 7 steps and ferociously chopped down the Thunder Dragon chop together with the Lunar Shadow Saber. Bang! Lu Yang, who blocked with his saber, got knocked back by Xiao Chen, crashing into the wall of the restaurant in a sorry state. Xiao Qin held his saber horizontally as he stood on the table. Then he staggered and drank another cup. Smiling in disdain, he said, "You are only SSO, and you still want to sneak attack me? Attack together." When the group of drunk people saw Xiao Qin standing on the table, their blood surged. They could no longer resist charging over. Good timing. Half drunk and half awake, Xiao Qin felt free and unfettered. There was a kind of unbridled feeling that he had never felt before flowing through his veins. After the effects of the alcohol, this unbridled feeling was amplified 100-fold. Xiao Qin laughed loudly 3 times and brandished his lunar shadow saber, charging over. Saber lights and sword images appeared, and mysterious phenomena appeared. The intense battle turned chaotic. Xiao Qin weaved his way through the crowd, drifting away. Such a chaotic battle caused the eyes of the cultivators peeking outside the building to widen. A proper gathering actually turned into such a state. No one had expected it. What was even more unexpected was that the drunk Xiao Qin let go of all his limbs. Even when fighting against so many outstanding talents alone, he did not seem to be at a disadvantage. Xiao Qian's strong 60% comprehended saber soul even gave him the upper hand in the situation. The thousands of cups of thousand-year flame in the air had already scattered. The wine cups contained Xiao Qian's saber intent. They did not shatter in this chaotic battle. Instead, they moved about as the battle went on. Xiao Qian went completely berserk, releasing all the pressure. Occasionally, he drank a cup of thousand-year flame to fight the outstanding talents. For hours later, aside from the sturdy main body of the restaurant, the tables, shelves, screens, and all sorts of decorations had all shattered. The floor was a mess. The outstanding talents fell to the ground, unable to get up. It was unknown whether they were completely drunk or knocked out by Xiao Qin. As he swayed, Xiao Qian's white robes were dyed red with blood. Much of it was his blood, but most of it was the blood of the great bandit's descendants. As Xiao Qin stood at the table, he drank the last cup of thousand-year flame. Then, he looked around with his drunken eyes and discovered that no one was still standing. So he could not help laughing loudly again. However, this laughter contained some desolation, a loneliness that others would find hard to understand. The winds and clouds of the world come from my generation. Once I enter the world, time flies. The peak of the Emperor's Road is filled with boundless glory. Xiao Qin laughed loudly and fell over. The empty wine cup in his hand fell to the ground with a clatter, shattering into pieces. When Ba Yan, who had been hiding at the side when the chaotic battle started, saw this scene, he quickly rushed over. When he saw the mess, he smiled bitterly and said, "I really should not have brought him here. The host of this gathering should be crying now." Even now, Ba Yan had not seen the host of the gathering. This was to his liking. It was best if he did not see him. Ba Yan carried Xiao Qian on his back and prepared to leave this troublesome place. He accidentally chopped down all the outstanding talents. This matter had blown out of proportion. Chapter 1177. Just as Ba Yan carried Xiao Qian on his back and prepared to leave, 2 figures flashed out of the messy second floor. If Xiao Qian were still here, he would definitely recognize these 2 people. They were the 2 figures he saw at the city gates that day. One of them was Zhao Feng, the descendant of the Divine Eye Sovereign, who was ranked second among the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea. The other person was Sima Lingxian, the most famous and dazzling outstanding young talent in the Black Sea. This was especially so after Sima Lingxuan's adoptive father, Zhong Buxiong, advanced to sovereign martial emperor. Sima Lingxuan's status soared, no one able to compete with him. These 2 were the organizers of this gathering. They had arrived long ago for the sake of waiting for a certain person. However, they did not show themselves. Who would have thought that the gathering would turn out like this? It was truly unexpected. The person they were waiting for did not show up. Instead, such a person showed up, brandishing a saber and beating up the crowd. "Indeed, it is you," Sima Lingxian said through clenched teeth as he looked in the direction Xiao Qian and Ba Yan had left in. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. When Sima Lingxian heard the name of the white-robed bladesman in the city, he had suspected that it was that Xiao Qian. Now that he saw it for himself, he confirmed his guess. Unexpectedly, After not seeing him for 10 years, Xiao Qin was still so strong. Compared to the Sky Dome Realm's 5-nation youth competition, he was still as elegant as before, inspiring an unparalleled feeling. If news of this scene spread, the name of the white-robed bladesman Xiao Qin would resound throughout the entire Dark City, surpassing Sima Lingxian once again. It would be just like the 5-nation youth competition back then, when Xiao Qin suddenly rose up and completely overshadowed Sima Lingxuan's glory. You are coming to participate in the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting as well? Very good. I have waited for this day for a long time. A resolute expression flashed in Sima Lingxuan's eyes as he thought to himself. Only then did he slowly calm down. Zhao Feng, who was at the side, did not notice Sima Lingxuan's strange expression. He looked at the many great bandits lying on the ground, snoring loudly. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. Those present were all famous geniuses of the Dark City. To think that an outsider would cause them to be in such a sorry state. Of course, part of the reason was that the strength of these geniuses had greatly decreased after drinking the wine. However, Xiao Qian's strength was undeniable. It could only be described with one word: powerful. At least, Zhao Feng thought that if he met Xiao Qian, his chances of winning wouldn't exceed 50%. However, he was still confident that if he ran into Xiao Qian at the Geniuses Summit, he would still be the one to emerge victorious. It's a pity that Huang Yun still hasn't shown up. That guy has been gone for 3 years. I bet he's already forgotten about the Geniuses Summit meeting. Zhao Feng quietly said, "That's right, the purpose of this summit was to force Huang Yun out." Even though the descendant of the top pirate of the Black Sea, the Blood Shark Sovereign, had been gone for 3 years, he still remained a burden in Zhao Feng and Sima Lingxuan's hearts. Sima Lingxian said calmly, "It is indeed unfortunate. However, the unfortunate person is you, Zhao Feng." "What do you mean?" Sima Lingxian revealed a mocking expression as he said indifferently, "Ha! Unfortunately, your strength has not improved at all. You will still lose to me this time. Did you not notice that that person is already here?" Zhao Feng's expression changed, and the light in his eyes began to rapidly change. An azure whirlpool of light began to spin in the depths of his eyes. A blurry scarlet figure appeared in Zhao Feng's vision. The scarlet figure flickered and quickly vanished from his vision, quickly changing directions. A figure appeared on the second floor of the Conflagration restaurant. This figure wore yellow robes and carried a scarlet saber on his back. His eyes were slightly red. This was the Blood Shark Sovereign's descendant, Huang Yun. "He's back." Some of the martial practitioners who were watching from a high vantage point revealed horrified expressions when they saw the yellow figure, appearing to be extremely panic-stricken. The Blood Shark Sovereign's descendant, Huang Yun. 3 years ago, Huang Yun was the absolute overlord of the younger generation of Dark City. After he left, Sima Lingxian and Zhao Feng slowly rose to fame. This was especially so for Sima Lingxian. He rose very quickly, already showing signs of surpassing Huang Yun. Now that Huang Yun returning before the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting, there would definitely be a fierce battle at this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. First, there was the strong appearance of the white-robed bladesman, beating up the outstanding talents in a drunken state. Then, there were the cultivators from the outer sea, stirring up trouble and eyeing covetously. Then, there were the veteran overlords returning to Dark City. It would be difficult not to look forward to this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. After not coming for 3 years, the great bandits of Dark City seemed to have weakened again. Huang Yun glanced at the drunk outstanding talent lying on the ground and frowned slightly. He did not hide his disdain at all. Huang Yun raised his head and looked between Zhao Feng and Sima Lingxian. Finally, he fixed his gaze on Sima Lingxuan's face. "The two of you are pretty good. 3 years ago, I predicted that you would rise up. However, I did not expect you to rise up so quickly. However, you have a demon in your heart. If you do not get rid of it, you will find it hard to advance. You are not worthy of being my opponent." Sima Lingxuan's heart sank. 3 years had passed, but this Huang Yun was still as strong as before. He could see through Sima Lingxuan's weakness with one glance. Sima Lingxuan's demon was Xiao Qin. Xiao Chen had killed Sima Lingxuan's father and once trampled on him. If Sima Lingxian did not defeat Xiao Chen, he would find it hard to undergo a true transformation. However, a demon can be a shackle or a motivation. If you really think that, you will suffer a miserable defeat at the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. A strong fighting spirit appeared in Sima Lingxuan's eyes. He did not fear this returning overlord. Huang Yun smiled faintly, still feeling confident. You are not a match for me. In that case, how about I be your opponent? Just as Sima Lingxian was about to reply, a voice suddenly rang out on the second floor. A figure with a strong aura charged over, knocking away many cultivators peeking around before landing heavily on the ground. This person's eyes appeared somewhat chaotic, and his skin seemed like metal, flickering with a faint luster. Clearly, he was not of the human race or the fiend race bloodline, looking extremely strange. This was a mixed blood of humans and demons, possessing the bloodlines of both humans and high-ranked iron demons. It's him, Moran. He is one of the cultivators from the Outer Sea who caused the most trouble in Dark City recently. Since he is here, then the Ice Sea's Ling Xan and the Storm Sea's Ouyang Feng will definitely be here as well. This is the true gathering. This is just the beginning. The moment this person appeared, many cultivators immediately recognized him. He was the Human Demon Sea's young expert, Mo Ran. A strong wind blew, and two men appeared on the second floor one after another. One of them was tall and exuded a strong aura. This was the Storm Sea's Ouyang Feng. The other had a frosty expression, looking cold and emotionless. This was the Ice Sea's Ling Xan. The true gathering of outstanding talents had just begun. These words were not wrong at all. The 5 people here represented the strongest outstanding talents in Dark City. Including Xiao Chen and Ba Yan, who left, the strongest outstanding talents were all here. Huang Yun revealed a cruel smile and said, Dark City's Outstanding Talent Summit meeting has never benefited outsiders before. With me, Huang Yun, around, you will not be able to break this record. Is that so? Let's see how capable you are. The Human Demon Sea's Mo Ran smiled coldly as he charged over. Mo Ran's body flickered with light, looking like he had a body of steel. He was heavy and sturdy, and every step he took produced loud bangs. Mo Ran was like a running mountain. His aura was startling and unparalleled berserk as he punched. Huang Yun narrowed his eyes, and his slightly red eyes turned completely scarlet. He did not draw his saber but also sent a punch. Bang! The 2 fists clashed, producing a loud, ear-splitting sound. The 2 each took 10 steps back, and the entire conflagration restaurant shook continuously. Huang Yun, who carried the scarlet saber on his back, said coldly, You are merely With just this bit of ability, you cannot force me to draw my saber. The expressions of the Storm Sea's Ouyang Feng and the Ice Sea's Ling Xan changed slightly. Huang Yun was indeed somewhat scarily strong. As a bladesman, Huang Yun actually used his fist to receive Mo Ran's move. If Huang Yun had used his saber, the result would have been different. You had best not come to the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting half a month from now. Otherwise, if you lose too miserably, don't blame me for not showing mercy. The boundlessly tyrannical Huang Yun left behind these words. Then, a scarlet light flashed as he left the conflagration restaurant. How arrogant! Do you think that this is all my trump card? Mo Ran was not convinced at all. He pushed off the ground and charged forward fearlessly again. Now, only 4 people remained. Sima Lingxian glanced at the other 2 foreign cultivators. A fierce fighting spirit blazed in his eyes as he said, Since you are already here, it would be a pity if you only exchange 1 or 2 moves. That is precisely the case, the Storm Sea's Ouyang Feng and the Ice Sea's Ling Xan said at the same time. A series of probing exchanges quickly took place in the restaurant. Everyone wanted to test each other out. However, no one would expose their trump cards. Everything would only erupt at the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. At this moment, Xiao Chen was completely drunk and unconscious. He did not know anything about what happened after that. He did not know that a few strong people had arrived after him. This time he was completely drunk. In the rock castle, Bai Yin carried Xiaochen all the way to his courtyard. The sound startled Yu Bingyun, who was busy repairing the dragon's subduing platform. When Yu Bingyun saw the unconscious, blood-soaked Xiaochen covered in wounds, her expression changed visibly. Her face turned cold, and a dense murderous intent flashed in her eyes. The appearance of that murderous intent startled Bai Yin. He found it hard to imagine that the pure and holy Yu Bingyun would have such a horrifying side. What's wrong with him? Who injured him? Bai Yin quickly explained what happened in the conflagration restaurant in detail, dispelling Yu Bingyun's doubts. He drank 100 cups of peak-grade wine in a row. Yu Bingyun's murderous intent vanished, and she showed some shock on her face. For a wine to be called peak-grade wine, it would have a strong aftereffect. Even the blue-robed emperor could not drink too much. Drinking 100 cups like Xiaochen was simply unheard of. Even Emperor Wu did not dare to do so. After that, Xiaochen's actions were even crazier. He beat up the outstanding talents while drunk, fighting alone against so many outstanding talents. He was truly drunk. If it were the rational Xiaochen, he would not have done such a crazy thing. That is what happened. Don't blame me for not helping out at that time. It was so chaotic. I was afraid that it would become even more chaotic after I went in. I'll leave it to you. Chapter 1178. After Bai Yin tossed Xiaochen onto Yu Bingyun, he finally felt some relief. This Xiaochen brother looked refined and refined. Unexpectedly, he went crazy. Even a battle maniac like him, who everyone feared, felt ashamed of his inferiority. Yu Bingyun felt slightly stunned. She wanted to call out to Bai Yin, but he had already gone far away. Then she saw Xiaochen stumbling, looking like he would fall over. She panicked and quickly rushed forward to catch him. Yu Bingyun looked at the sleeping Xiaochen on her shoulder for a long time. Then she smiled bitterly. That's good. This fellow probably has not had a good sleep for a long time already. Since you carried me once, I'll carry you once as well. This place was still a long distance from Xiaochen's bedroom. Yu Bingyun would not be able to bring herself to carry Xiaochen over. Yu Bingyun said somewhat mischievously. Then, she copied Bai Yin and carried Xiaochen to the bedroom. He is really heavy. After placing Xiaochen on the bed, Yu Bingyun gently breathed out. Then, she looked at the bloodstains on Xiaochen's face that had not been cleaned off. For some reason, Yu Bingyun recalled the time in the Blood Sword Sovereign's cave. Every time the Blood Sword Sovereign tried to stand up, he would vomit blood all over his face. Unknowingly, Yu Bingyun's hand moved down and touched Xiaochen's face. However, she withdrew her hand immediately, like she recalled something. Then she shook her head and brought over a basin of water to wipe Xiaochen's face clean. Then, she called a maidservant over to help Xiaochen change his clothes and clean his wounds. After everything was done, Yu Bingyun returned to the bedroom. She saw that Xiaochen's eyes were still closed, showing no signs of waking up. Xiaochen had truly fallen into a deep sleep. If it were in the past, even the slightest movement would startle Xiaochen awake. However, this time, due to the aftereffects of drinking 100 cups of peak-quality wine, even after someone changed Xiaochen's clothes, he still did not react. Xiaochen could only be said to be drunk. After sighing, Yu Bingyun picked up Xiaochen's blood-stained white robes. Then, she quietly closed the door and turned to leave. Xiaochen had a dream. The dream was hazy but real. He dreamed of Seven-Horn Mountain, of his father who chased him out of the clan, of Heavenly Saber Pavilion, of Lu Ryue, of Bai, of Feng Feishue. He dreamed of many, many people. He happily chatted with these people and felt extremely relaxed. But in the end he saw that those people were running as fast as they could behind him, but no matter how hard they tried, they could not catch up to him. He wanted to turn around, but an invisible force prevented him from doing so. The road ahead was a bridge, and on the opposite side of the bridge stood a door. On the door stood a blurry figure. However, Xiaochen knew who that was. That was the Qing Emperor of the Dragon's Gate. He was an unparalleled and tyrannical existence who swept through the world, an invincible existence. Even though Xiaochen had been dead for 10,000 years, he could still hear his name no matter where he went. Only he could trample on that emperor's gate. Xiaochen had too many questions in his heart. He wanted to ask Xiaochen why he came to this world. Why did Xiaochen become enemies with the world, causing the Xiao clan's descendants to fall into such dire straits? Why did he leave such a huge mess for Xiaochen? Pa! Suddenly, the bridge broke. As Xiaochen ran over, filled with anticipation, it suddenly broke, and he fell into a bottomless abyss. The rapid fall, the suffocating fear, and the indescribable loneliness made him cry out loudly. Xiaochen suddenly opened his eyes and sat up on the wooden bed in his bedroom. He looked around before reacting somewhat slowly. So, it was just a dream. My head hurts. After a while, Xiaochen's head ached. His tongue tasted bitter, dry, and tasteless. He felt dizzy and very uncomfortable. The side effects of drinking too much and sleeping too much forced Xiaochen to lean back on the bed. Xiaochen rubbed his temples with both hands as he circulated his energy to eliminate his fatigue. Soon, all sorts of discomfort vanished from Xiaochen's body. Replacing it was a sense of relaxation that he had never experienced before. His body relaxed, but his heart felt strangely empty. Xiaochen tossed aside the blanket and got off the bed. However, he stumbled and fell to the ground. How long have I been asleep? My body is not listening to me at all. Xiaochen was somewhat at a loss. Then he tried calling out to Ao Jiao. However, he discovered that there was no response. Strangely, Little Yellow Feather and Ao Jiao were not in the immortal spirit ring. However, the connection between the item spirit and its master was still there. He was sure that nothing had happened to Ao Jiao, so Xiaochen felt much more at ease. Xiaochen got up and paced around the room. Then he stretched his limbs and let his law energy flow through his meridians, activating his qi and blood. As Xiaochen's qi and blood stirred, his entire mind became empty. He entered a state of clarity that he had never experienced before. It was incredibly profound. This startled Xiaochen. He knew that he had entered a state that all cultivators dreamed of, one with heaven. This state of one with heaven would not last for long. Xiaochen had experienced it once when he broke through in the lower realm. So, he quickly sat down cross-legged. Without any other choice, Xiaochen used all this precious time on comprehending Instant of Glory. Instant of Glory was currently Xiaochen's strongest martial technique. It was a martial technique that allowed him to execute everything he learned. It was already comparable to a medial-grade profound martial technique. Furthermore, its might was far from what a regular medial-grade profound martial technique could compare to. Currently, this move only had a rough outline. Xiaochen had only scratched the surface, not even reaching small perfection. He absolutely could not miss out on this opportunity to comprehend one with heaven. The blazing sun, snowflakes, blue dragon, broken leaves, and all sorts of mysterious phenomena flew out of Xiaochen's body, forming a profound picture. As Xiaochen comprehended, more and more mysterious phenomena of martial techniques came out of his body. Four-season saber technique, myriad heaven divine fist, subduing dragon profound slash, thunder dragon chop, thunder dragon steps, flawless bright moon, thousand-year flame, thousand-year death. There were close to 100 martial techniques of various sizes. As time went by, Xiaochen's understanding of Instant of Glory deepened. The directions this move could extend to were practically boundless. Eventually, it reached two paths, time and space. When the wondrous state vanished, Xiaochen's comprehension came to a sudden stop. Although he had not managed to make a qualitative leap in Instant of Glory in such a short period of time, Xiaochen managed to see the future path of this move. The state of time and space are too profound. It is not good to bite off more than one can chew now. However, I have gained a lot from this comprehension. With a thought, the instant Xiaochen stood up, the many mysterious phenomena in the room stopped. Several mysterious phenomena disappeared, leaving only the bright moon, the night sky, and the winter snow, forming a picture of the cold moon and snow. Although the previous Instant of Glory was very soul-stirring and boundlessly grand, it was too chaotic in the end. There was no way to control it. Every time it was executed, it would exhaust a vast amount of law energy. Actually, there was no need for several mysterious phenomena to appear. It was not that the more mysterious phenomena one had, the more glorious they would be. Sometimes, to show glory, all one needed was a simple patch of yellow sand. Shao Chen waved his hand, and the cold moon acupoint picture disappeared. Then, he said indifferently, in the past, the instant of glory was just wandering outside the door. This time, I have finally entered the room. I will not go astray. With a direction and the right path, there was no need to fear the long road or the rugged roads. One would eventually climb to the peak of instant of glory. Collecting his thoughts, Shao Chen narrowed his eyes and looked at the neatly folded white robes on the table. Only then did he realize that he was only wearing simple sleeping robes. There was also a letter on the clear wind robes, signed by Yu Bingyun. Yu Bingyun left a letter. Did she leave already? If not, there would be no need to leave a message like this. How long have I been asleep? Shao Chen's heart was filled with questions. However, Ao Jiao and Little Yellow Feather were not around at this time. Feeling a little empty, Shao Chen opened the envelope. The elegant handwriting made one feel a sense of lightness. The contents of the letter were not long, only 200 or 300 words. However, the contents of the letter deeply touched Shao Chen. I wonder how much longer you are going to sleep for. It has already been 10 days, and you still have not woken up. I can only leave without saying goodbye. Actually, my destination is not the human demon sea. I want to go to the ice sea and the storm sea. I want to help the lunar palace find 2 things to refine a new transcendent divine weapon. In the Blood Sword Sovereign's cave abode on Blackwater Island, there was a moment when I really thought I was going to die. I even gave up resisting. Maybe you don't know it yourself, but on the verge of death, your voice was like a ray of light that shone into hell. I shed my first tear. You and I are very similar. We both carry a great deal of pressure on our shoulders. Compared to you, what I've endured is really nothing. You're much more tired than me. It's rare to get drunk in life, but you have to wake up after that. Don't give up hope, don't indulge your arrogance. The world is unpredictable. There will always be a chance of survival. Let's not give up. I will wait for you to become a martial emperor. If one day you need to undergo the tribulation of wind and fire, I will definitely come and help you. Take care. We will meet again if we are fated. XXX Yu Bingyun, stay. XXX was a blob of smeared handwriting. Shao Chen couldn't see it clearly, but that wasn't the point. The main point was the concern in Yu Bingyun's words. It made one feel an inexplicable warmth in his heart. Unexpectedly, this mysterious girl had such a warm side. According to the contents of the letter, Shao Chen had slept for at least 10 days. That was a long nap. Shao Chen put away the letter, feeling somewhat disappointed and frustrated. Yu Bingyun's departure and the various scenes in his dream. Now that he thought about it, he could not calm down. He kept feeling somewhat empty, like he had lost or forgotten something. Looking at the clear wind robes on the table, Shao Chen held them in his hands. He could not help but recall the first time Lu Ryu addressed him. After putting on the clear wind robes, Shao Chen pushed open the door and went out. He discovered that the entire rock castle was deserted. Aside from the guards of some important places, most of them had left. Shao Chen strolled around the courtyard, heading for the dragon subduing platform. Before he went to the conflagration restaurant, the dragon subduing platform had nearly been repaired. Since Yu Bingyun had already left, she should have already dealt with the final matters. When Shao Chen arrived at the backyard, he was somewhat surprised to discover an old man in sackcloth robes. This old man had an ordinary air and an extremely thick beard, looking around excitedly on the dragon subduing platform. "Who are you?" Shao Chen asked somewhat warily. This old man's appearance was very strange. Earlier, when Shao Chen sent out his spiritual sense, he did not sense anyone else in the courtyard. The hemp-robed old man turned his head and smiled. "You're awake. Don't be nervous. This is my home. If I wanted to take away your dragon-subduing platform, I would have plenty of opportunities to do so while you were asleep." Chapter 1179. Shao Chen looked carefully. Although he could not make out this person's cultivation, he could still sense the aura of rock and flame. This person should be an older generation Emperor Wu with a high cultivation in the Rock Castle. He was more knowledgeable and recognized the complete dragon subduing platform. Since that was the case, Xiao Chen stopped thinking about it. When the hemp-robed old man saw Xiao Chen, he looked like he had lost something, so he asked with a smile, "Young man, what's wrong? You seem to be out of it after sobering up." Xiao Chen was not willing to elaborate. He asked, "Does Senior know how long I slept for?" "Not that long, just about half a month. Unfortunately, I missed the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. It started today." Outstanding Talent Summit meeting? No wonder the people in the castle were not around. They must have gone to the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting to support the Flame Rock Castle's Ba Yen. Strange, why are you not reacting at all? Isn't it a pity to miss the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting? The hemp-robed old man asked. As Xiao Chen walked around the dragon-subduing platform, he discovered that Yu Bingyun had indeed finished repairing it. All he needed to do was leave a spiritual mark, and he would be able to use it. After hearing the old man's words, Xiao Chen answered, "Naturally, it is a pity. However, it is already too late. Even if it is a pity, it is useless. I will take this dragon-subduing platform and leave." "You are rather indifferent. I heard that you can drink a lot. Are you interested in having a drink or two with me?" The hemp-robed old man took out a bottle of wine. He did not put on any airs as he invited Xiao Chen with a smile. Xiao Chen did not know what Ao Jiao was doing. She had not returned yet, so he could not leave for now. There was no harm in drinking a few cups. After receiving the wine cups, the two, one old and one young, casually sat on the steps and clinked their cups. After a few cups, Xiao Chen's mood slowly improved, and he spoke more with the old man. Their topics ranged from martial techniques to wine tasting, to geomancy, to ancient secrets. They talked about everything. The hemp-robed old man's horizons startled Xiao Chen slightly. As the old man spoke, he inadvertently revealed many things that Xiao Chen had not heard of. There were also some insights on the martial way that were even more direct, pointing out the flaws in the martial way. Xiao Chen did not seem like an ordinary martial emperor at all. Even if he were a martial emperor, his knowledge would not be as broad as Xiao Chen's. If he had not been there personally, he would not have been able to explain the secrets of several forbidden lands so clearly. He even knew the great forbidden lands like the back of his hand. For example, the hemp-robed old man knew the Mirage Immortal Palace, which Xiao Chen was very interested in. The timing of this Mirage Immortal Palace's appearance is uncertain. Its location is also unknown. Even in the Forbidden Lands, it is considered rather mysterious. Unless it appears on its own, there is no way of knowing where it is. The hemp-robed old man took a sip of wine and continued, "Unlike the heart of the ocean, where one can enter the immortal graveyard and the distant sea dragon grave at any time. There are many good things in there. However, there is danger at every step. If one is not careful, even a sovereign martial emperor might fall in there. Not just anyone dares to enter." Xiao Chen felt curious. He asked, "What are the secrets behind the 8 great forbidden lands? After so many years, has no one figured them out?" When the hemp-robed old man heard this, he could not help smiling. It is not that no one has figured them out. It is just that no one dares to be sure. For example, this Mirage Immortal Palace. If I were to guess, it would be the temporary residence of a powerhouse from the ancient era. It is very possible that this powerhouse eventually advanced to martial god and left this abandoned land of ours. Xiao Chen's expression changed. Is there really a martial god? Martial god is just a title. I'm not sure if there is one or not. However, there are definitely existences higher than Prime. Every sovereign martial emperor is very clear on this. It is just that we sadly live in this abandoned land. Every powerhouse of the martial way that left erased all traces of their existence. At this point, the hemp-robed old man revealed a clear trace of sadness and sorrow in his eyes. This trace of sadness and sorrow was something Xiao Chen had seen in the Haotian martial emperor's eyes before. It was very similar, both expressing a kind of helpless rage. You definitely do not want to reach my level in the future and face the same sadness and helplessness, right? The hemp-robed old man suddenly asked seriously. Xiao Chen did not understand. Then, the hemp-robed old man pulled him up and tossed him a medallion. "So, muster up your fighting spirit. Don't look so dejected. Don't give up on the path that you have been persevering on. Wine is not used to numb your fighting spirit. It is used to ignite it. You still have to participate in the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. Pa! The hemp-robed old man smashed the wine cup in his hand. Then, an irresistible tyrannical aura appeared from his body, making breathing difficult. The hemp-robed old man picked up Xiao Chen and tossed him into the air. A spatial tear opened. Just as Xiao Chen was about to resist, the power of space sucked him in. Then, the spatial tear quickly closed. Flame Rock Sovereign, you old fellow. Where did you toss my Xiao Chen to? Ao Jiao, who rushed back from outside, happened to see this scene. Her expression changed drastically as she exclaimed. When the hemp-robed old man saw Ao Jiao, his insufferably tyrannical aura immediately vanished. He smiled with narrowed eyes and said, "Big sister Ao, don't be angry. I just tossed him to where he belongs." "Don't call me big sister, you old man." The sound of a fist rang out. The livid Ao Jiao sent the hemp-robed old man flying with a punch. Dark City's Outstanding Talent Summit meeting was held once every 5 years. Every time it was held, it would be incredibly grand. This was especially so for this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. There was the strong return of the Blood Shark Sovereign's descendant, Huang Yun, the rising popularity of the new expert, Sima Lingxian, and the sudden emergence of the 3 great experts of the Outer Star Sea. The intense battles were confusing, with climaxes rising one after another. Until the end, the victor would remain a mystery. This was because the peak experts of this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting were too close in strength. No one could make a judgment beforehand. Everyone thought that with Huang Yun's strong return, he would continue his dominance from back then, sweeping through everyone and becoming the champion in one go. Who could have imagined that Sima Lingxuan's rise would surpass everyone's expectations? Since the start of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting, he had never been defeated. His momentum flourished, and his popularity soared. The Human Demon Sees Mo Ran, the Ice Sees Ling Xen, and the Storm Sees Ouyang Feng also made everyone's eyes light up. They defeated Lu Yun, Zhao Feng, and the other popular outstanding youths of Dark City one after another. The only thing that the crowd found unfortunate was that the famous white-robed bladesman, who had beaten up the crowd in a drunken manner, did not come to participate. According to the rules of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting, if a cultivator with the Outstanding Talent token did not participate, it would be equivalent to forfeiting. Given this, everyone was disappointed. This was especially so for the cultivators who had seen Xiao Chen compete in drinking with the crowd at the Conflagration restaurant. They all felt very disappointed. These people had rushed over to watch Xiao Chen compete, wanting to witness the white-robed bladesman's glory again. Who could have imagined that the white-robed bladesman would actually forfeit? If not for the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting being very eye-catching, he would have left long ago. Round after round of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting continued. Soon, the strongest 4 appeared. Huang Yun expended a lot of effort to defeat Ba Yan, obtaining a spot in the top 4. Next was Sima Lingxian. He defeated the popular Lu Yun, who also used the sword. The 3rd spot went to the Human Demon Sees Mo Ran. His opponent was Zhao Feng. This was a very dangerous match. After Mo Ran completely demonized, he nearly lost. This was because Zhao Feng had learned a medial-grade profound martial technique. If Mo Ran had not grasped it well, he might have been the one to lose. This was a very dangerous match. The 4th spot went to the 2 young experts of the Storm Sea and the Ice Sea. This internal conflict was probably because the organizers did not want the experts of the Outer Seas to obtain too many spots in the top 4, so they made them fight amongst themselves. Lung Xian's and Ouyang Feng's battle was exceptionally marvelous. It allowed the tens of thousands of spectators to experience the different performances of the Will of Ice and the Will of Storm, broadening their horizons. Ba Yan, who had already lost his right to continue fighting, watched very seriously, nodding his head repeatedly. Ba Yan glanced over and saw Huang Yun, who was resting with his eyes closed. Huang Yun seemed to sense Ba Yan's gaze, so he opened his eyes and smiled in disdain. This immediately enraged Ba Yan. If not for the rules, he would have gone up to fight again. Damn. Damn it. If not for the dragon scale armor I obtained outside, this old man would not have lost to you so easily, Ba Yan said, unconvinced. Ba Tu, who was at the side, also said depressedly, Brother Xiaochen did not come. If he had come, he might have been able to help you vent your frustrations. It is really unfortunate that this fellow did not come. With his strength, he would not have any problems getting into the top 3. He would definitely obtain a medial-grade profound martial technique, Ba Yan said with a nod. Ba Yan nodded. Even now, he still could not see through Xiao Chen's strength. After all, Xiao Chen had gotten drunk that day. Many outstanding talents had gotten drunk as well. Under such unusual circumstances, it was very difficult to judge a person's strength. However, Ba Yan was confident that Xiao Chen would not have any problems getting into the top 3. It might even be possible for Xiao Chen to defeat this insufferably arrogant Huang Yun. The crucial thing was that this fellow had gotten drunk and slept for half a month. No matter how Ba Yan called out to him, he would not wake up. When Ba Lingxian thought about it, he found it both funny and infuriating. Sima Lingxian, who obtained a spot in the top 4, also felt it was unfortunate that Xiao Chen did not come. Trampling on Xiao Chen in public had always been Sima Lingxuan's dream. How could he be satisfied with missing out on such a great opportunity? Hu Qi! A cold light flashed in the storm. Then, a sword light forced Ouyang Feng out of the arena. Finally, the final top 4 was decided. The Ice Sizzling Xen was more skilled, defeating Ouyang Feng. After the top 4 were determined, they all recovered and drew lots to determine their opponents. Then, they returned to the arenas. The arenas of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting would merge with each other after every round. After several rounds of battles, there were only 2 arenas left. When the final battle came, they would merge again, leaving only 1 arena. This Outstanding Talent Summit meeting slowly entered its climax. After the top 4, it would start with the most anticipated fight for the championship. Just as Sima Lingxian and the other 3 finished drawing their lots and walked up to the arenas, they bowed and prepared to fight. Something strange happened. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the sky above the arena. This crack passed through several spatial formations and forced its way in. This sudden scene caused everyone to turn their gazes to the crack in the sky. They had no idea what was going on. Just as the experts in charge of the city lord's residence were preparing to make a move, they received a piece of news. Their expressions changed for some reason, finding this inconceivable. Chapter 1180. Ka. The 2 arenas started to merge without any warning. Before everyone's eyes, they formed a vast arena that slowly rose up, looking like a huge dragon rising up, giving off an extraordinary aura. What's going on? Why did the arenas suddenly merge? The semifinals have not started yet. This is strange. The experts of the city lord's residence did not attack the person in the spatial tear. Who exactly is it? Why is his entrance so tyrannical? The sudden change completely disrupted the rhythm. Such a phenomenon had never happened in the Outstanding Talent Summits that had been passed down for hundreds of years. At the same time, everyone started guessing who the person who opened the spatial tear was. Ba Yan frowned slightly. He thought of a possibility but could not be sure. The 4 people in the arena were also at a loss. They did not know what was going on. When the spatial tear completely opened, the figure inside finally appeared. A white figure drifted out of the spatial tear, appearing somewhat suspicious. The white-robed bladesman. The moment Xiao Chen appeared, everyone immediately recognized him, causing countless cries of surprise. It really is the white-robed bladesman. Unexpectedly, he appeared in such a manner. However, he has already been deemed to have forfeited. Even if he found an expert and barged in, it would be useless. No matter what, Xiao Chen's arrival caused a huge commotion. This was especially so for the cultivators who came specially for him. They were all very excited, exchanging words non-stop. The 4 people in the arenas all showed different expressions. Some were shocked, some were pleasantly surprised, some were unperturbed, and some were disdainful. The one who felt shocked was the human demon Mo Ran. Naturally, the one who felt pleasantly surprised was Sima Lingxian. Huang Yun was as arrogant as ever, not caring about Xiao Chen at all. Lung Xian's expression was like a block of ice that would not melt for 10,000 years. There was no change in his expression at all. The one who came is the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen. In the direction of the platform, an old man with blazing eyes shouted at Xiao Chen, who was on the platform. Xiao Chen, who had been tossed over from the flame rock castle, was still somewhat dizzy and could not react immediately. Hence, the old man had to ask again. The one who came is the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen. Hand over your outstanding talent token and verify your identity. Xiao Chen had already guessed where he was based on the scene and the 4 people in the arenas. When he heard the question again, he nodded and admitted his identity, then handed over the outstanding talent token. Very good. Your identity is verified. Hand over the forceful kill token that the Flame Rock Sovereign gave you. Forceful kill token? Is it this? Xiao Chen took out a medallion that the hemp-robed old man had tossed to him. He had not looked at it carefully. Now that he looked at it, there was indeed the word kill written on the front and order carved on the back. When the tens of thousands of spectators at the scene heard the 3 words forceful kill order, their expressions changed at the same time, and they sucked in a deep breath. It really is the forceful kill order. Grandpa actually gave him this chance. Bai Yan's expression turned grave. He said in some disbelief, if Xiao Chen fails, this old man will lose all your face. In the end, the City Lord's residence, the organizer of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting, was controlled by the 13 Great Bandits. The 13 Great Bandits provided all the prizes. Hence, every Great Bandit had some special privileges. The Forceful Kill token was one of them. As the name suggested, the Forceful Kill token allowed one to forcefully enter the Outstanding Talent Convention. It was given to the outstanding talents who could not make it in time for some reason or missed the deadline. Originally, according to the rules, once one gave up, one would not be able to participate. However, it was different with the Forceful Kill token. One could enter midway. However, there was a price for using the Forceful Kill token. After using the Forceful Kill token, one could only fight for the first rank. If one did not obtain the first rank, it would be considered a failure. Furthermore, one had to take turns challenging others. One had to defeat as many people as there were in the arena. After one defeated everyone, one could turn the tables and snatch the first rank. Not only would one obtain the glory of the first rank, but one would also obtain the rewards for the number of people one defeated. For example, there were currently 4 people in the arena. If Xiao Chen defeated all of them, he would obtain all the rewards for the top 4. However, if he lost to any one of them, the rewards for the other 4 would be doubled. The Great Bandit who gave Xiao Chen the Forceful Kill token would pay for it. To a Great Bandit, the rewards were not something that would hurt them. However, they would lose all their face. In history, no one had ever used the Forceful Kill token and succeeded in breaking through. Everyone ended up in failure. Even now, no one had seen the Forceful Kill token for several hundred years already. After Xiao Chen handed over the Forceful Charge medallion, he learned about its use from the discussions of the spectator stands. There were also some rules. For example, when there were fewer than 4 people, one would have to face the combined attacks of the others after using the Forceful Kill token. If the final champion was already decided, one could not use the Forceful Kill token. Xiao Chen appeared at the right time. There were still 4 people in the arena. However, the restrictions still existed. The other side was still taking turns challenging others, so there was no time to rest. Xiao Chen looked around at the 4 people in the arena. First, he looked at Huang Yun, the young outstanding talent with a scarlet saber on his back. He radiated pride from his entire body. After sizing up Xiao Chen, he no longer paid him any attention. Then he looked at Lung Exin, the cold swordsman of the Ice Sea. From the start to the end, Xiao Chen could not make out his true expression. The human demon sees Mo Ran took the initiative. When he saw Xiao Chen's gaze, his lips curled up in a smile filled with murderous intent. Finally, Xiao Chen's gaze landed on the grave and stern Sima Lingxian. Xiao Chen felt very complicated about him. The hatred from back then had already faded away. The higher one stood, the further one could see. Both Xiao Chen's breadth of vision and breadth of mind had undergone a great change. Now, all Xiao Chen pursued was the great Tao. When Sima Lingxian looked at Xiao Chen, aside from hatred, there was also a fierce fighting spirit. It was like a flame was burning in his eyes. However, when Sima Lingxian saw Xiao Chen's indifferent expression, he felt like this fire was burning in a calm lake, unable to truly burn. The forceful charge token is correct. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, are you sure you want to use the forceful charge token? The old man in the city lord's residence asked from the platform after he checked the forceful charge token. Xiao Chen raised his head and looked in the direction of the platform. Without hesitation, he replied calmly, I'm sure. It was as Yu Bingyun said, it was rare for one to get drunk. However, after getting drunk, one would eventually have to wake up and face the situation. The words, I'm sure, immediately set the crowd abuzz. Everyone liked the unexpected to happen. It was just like how people hoped for a dark horse to appear in a big competition. Now that Xiao Chen appeared with the forceful charge token, it was an exciting surprise. Very well, you can choose your opponent freely. Let's begin. Huang Yun and the other three did not shrink back at all. As they looked at Xiao Chen, their fighting spirits surged. They did not fear that he would choose them as his first opponent. The others were also guessing who Xiao Chen would choose as his first opponent. It should be the human demon sees Mo Ran. Of the four, he should be the weakest. It is hard to say. Mo Ran's defense is the strongest. If Xiao Chen chooses him, he will exhaust a large amount of law energy in the first match. It is not worth it. Then, it should be Sima Lingxian or Leng Exin. Coincidentally, these two are swordsmen. A bladesman would have an advantage against a swordsman. Everyone had their own opinions. However, no one thought that Xiao Chen would choose Huang Yun. After all, Huang Yun's strength was clear for all to see. I choose him. To everyone's surprise, Xiao Chen chose Huang Yun, locking his gaze on this person. According to the rules, the other three left the arena. Everyone was a little surprised by this result. Wasn't it a little too risky to choose the strongest Huang Yun for the first battle? Or perhaps this white-robed bladesman was extremely confident in his own strength and did not care who he chose or not. Everyone saw that when it came to choosing carefully, Xiao Chen did not even think before choosing Huang Yun. If that was the case, then Xiao Chen was too arrogant. You are courageous. Soon, you will regret your choice. Huang Yun was clearly enraged that Xiao Chen chose him in the first round. He suppressed his anger and said ruthlessly, that's right. The white-robed Xiao Chen appeared calm and collected. His expression did not change at all. He said indifferently, I am Xiao Chen. Please give me some pointers. In that case, please remember my name, Huang Yun. I am the bladesman who will make your reputation fall in Dark City. Fight! Huang Yun shouted ferociously and made the first move. His figure flashed, and he drew the scarlet saber on his back. When the saber light appeared, blood immediately dyed the sky red. The scene was extremely horrifying. A berserk killing chi surged out from Huang Yun's body. Together with the saber light that dyed the sky red, this saber strike was incredibly strong. The first move he used was a profound martial technique. This Huang Yun is trying to end this quickly. Blood dyeing the world. This was the Blood Shark Sovereign's trump card before he became a sovereign personage. This Huang Yun already has some of the Blood Shark Sovereign's demeanor. The white-robed bladesman is in trouble. He should not have chosen Huang Yun. He probably will not be able to last even one match. The terrifying aura caused everyone to be shocked. Only now did they realize that Huang Yun had been holding back all this time. Even Ba Yan, who lost to Huang Yun in one move earlier, was flabbergasted. He clearly knew that the other party did not rely on the chaotic Ling treasure armor to defeat him. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and executed Thunder Dragon steps. Then he quickly retreated. His body moved like a dragon, flickering with electric light. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps. Soon Xiao Chen was forced into a corner. The scarlet clouds in the sky seemed to occupy the entire sky above the arena. Huang Yun's horrifying saber light was like a ferocious, man-eating beast. It opened its maw wide, wanting to swallow up Xiao Chen. Retreat again. Xiao Chen, who had already taken 11 steps back, retreated to the edge of the arena. If he took another step back, his body would be in the air. If he fell to the ground, he would be out of the arena, automatically admitting defeat. Such a thrilling scene made everyone's heart beat faster. No one expected Huang Yun's true strength to be so ferocious. The moment he executed his killing move, he forced the white-robed bladesman to take 12 steps back and fly out of the arena. Haha. You are only a sosa. Scram. Chapter 1181. Huang Yun laughed maniacally and soared into the air. Then, he chopped down with his saber and knocked Xiao Chen to the ground. Sorry, you should be the one rolling down. After taking 12 steps, Xiao Chen had already pushed the Great Perfection Thunder Dragon steps to its limits. If he wanted to advance another level and take 18 steps, he would have to cultivate the Thunder Dragon steps to consummation. Xiao Chen did not know how powerful the 12 steps would be when he executed the Thunder Dragon chop. This was because he had only taken 7 steps at most before. However, Xiao Chen knew that the Thunder Dragon chop that took 12 steps could definitely defeat this blood-dyeing the world. Whoosh! Xiao Chen retreated again and again. Just as the yellow cloud was about to soar into the air, he suddenly took a step forward. As Xiao Chen took the step, he instantly drew the Lunar Shadow Saber and launched the Thunder Dragon chop, which had accumulated a huge amount of energy. Thunderclouds filled the sky like an ancient thunder dragon waking up. It roared ferociously and sent down lightning, forcing back the unbridled scarlet clouds. A strange expression appeared on Huang Yun's face. However, he did not have time to think. Amid the tens of thousands of lightning bolts, that white figure had already charged over with his saber. Keng Chang! The saber lights clashed, and Huang Yun was knocked back by Xiao Chen's saber. When Xiao Chen stopped retreating, he knocked Huang Yun back with 1 step. However, this was not over yet. The place where Xiao Chen's feet landed happened to be where he was earlier. The moment his feet touched the ground again, lightning dragons soared out from under Xiao Chen's feet. Electric light burst out, and Xiao Chen moved like a berserk dragon. Xiao Chen walked forward step by step. The speed at which he advanced was 10% faster than the speed at which he retreated. With every step, a lightning dragon soared out from under Xiao Chen's feet, roaring ferociously at the sky and causing lightning to fall continuously. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, he took 12 steps in a row. With each step, the number of lightning dragons would double. By the time he finished taking 12 steps, it was unknown how many lightning dragons were dancing around Xiao Chen. Lightning descended from the sky, looking even more horrifying. The scarlet clouds that dyed the sky red were torn to shreds, a tragic sight to behold. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber, and the dragons fell to the ground, no longer daring to act presumptuously. As for Huang Yun, who had been clamoring for Xiao Chen to get out of the arena, he was beaten black and blue. He flopped on the ground a few times before rolling off the arena, his body charred. Looking at the tumbling yellow cloud being defeated by Xiao Chen just like that, no one had expected this. The lightning fell, and the dragons fled far away. Xiao Chen stood upright while holding his saber. He looked around and fixed his gaze on the human demon Mo Ran. The person in the second match had made his choice. For some reason, when Sima Lingxian, who had been hoping to be the first to be chosen, saw Xiao Chen's gaze move away from him, he heaved a sigh of relief. He inexplicably heaved a sigh of relief. When he came back to his senses, he was immediately startled. He immediately extinguished this thought, and his fighting spirit was reignited. Mo Ran, who was chosen, laughed heartily and landed on the arena. Mo Ran's eyes filled with wildness as he looked at Xiao Chen. He said, "I thought that you would choose me last. Unexpectedly, I am the second. You probably do not know how horrifying the defense of my physical body is." When Xiao Chen heard this, he could not help but reveal an interested expression. He said, "How horrifying is it? No matter how strong your defense is, it cannot block endless attacks." "Is that so? In that case, feel free to give it a try." Mo Ran smiled coldly and his skin, which gave off a metallic glow, started to change rapidly. Soon, he could no longer feel any flesh on his skin. It had all turned into hard metal. His entire body turned into a body of steel, completely separated from his physical body. It looked extremely strange. There would always be something strange about the body of a human demon mixed blood, something very strange. Mo Ran stomped heavily, and countless cracks immediately appeared on the ground. The ground shook violently. When he moved, it was like a tall mountain raging, shaking the sky and ground. After Mo Ran stomped, he looked at Xiao Chen in a mocking manner, not showing any fear. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes. The other party's skin had already turned completely metal. Furthermore, he cultivated a special body tempering cultivation technique, making this body of steel even harder. In terms of physical body, this person's was no weaker than Xiao Chen's blue dragon war body. In terms of defense, this person might even be slightly stronger. This was the natural advantage of his bloodline. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, Xiao Chen took 7 steps. As a lightning dragon sword, he executed the thunder dragon chop with a vast aura. Mo Ran knew how strong this move was, so he did not intend to clash head-on. He formed hand seals and executed a defensive martial technique, defending with all his might. The thunder dragon chop broke through Mo Ran's defensive barrier, but its might weakened significantly. When it struck Mo Ran's body, it gave off metallic sounds. However, Mo Ran's skin did not move at all. The might of 7 steps was not enough. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and took 12 steps. Then he executed the move that chased Huang Yun off the arena. However, Mo Ran had already seen this move before. He knew very well the might it contained. Xiao Chen did not think of breaking it or clashing head-on. He brought out his full potential, purely defending. Kasi. The defensive barrier broke again, and the saber light struck Mo Ran's body, knocking him back step by step. Sparks flickered endlessly on his body. However, Xiao Chen still did not severely injure his opponent, unable to injure him severely. Mo Ran smiled faintly and casually waved his hand, knocking away Xiao Chen's saber. When he tried to grab the saber, Xiao Chen quickly pulled it away. Even though Xiao Chen did not manage to grab the saber, he was not in a rush. He smiled and said, "It is useless. Unless you can perfectly execute a medial-grade profound martial technique, you will not be able to break my defense." Unexpectedly, he is the one who hid the deepest. To think that his defense is so monstrous. It is indeed monstrous. If Xiao Chen had not appeared and continued fighting, he might have been the champion. His defense is simply too strong. Even the martial technique that Xiao Chen used to defeat Huang Yun could not injure him at all. I really can't think of how to break his defense. Everyone had already seen Mo Ran's monstrous defense. Earlier, Jiang Feng had already executed a medial-grade profound martial technique, but he had not succeeded in breaking his defense. However, even now, Xiao Chen's Thunder Dragon Chop could not break the defense of Mo Ran's physical body. This was truly horrifying. This physical body is somewhat problematic. Do I have to use Instant of Glory? Xiao Chen's figure floated off the ground. As he looked at Mo Ran, who was covered in sparks, he entered deep thought. Since the other party's physical body is so strong, why is he just standing there and letting me hit him? Xiao Chen remained extremely calm. He did not lose his ability to think independently because of the other party's mockery. This was because Xiao Chen was very clear that purposely mocking the other party was part of the strategy. Mo Ran mocked Xiao Chen from the very start, saying that Xiao Chen would not be able to break his defense. Could this be part of the strategy? Mo Ran wanted Xiao Chen to attack continuously. Then, when Xiao Chen was completely fatigued, he would attack again to end the battle. If that was true, then Mo Ran's physical body should have a weakness. Otherwise, with such a strong physical body, Mo Ran would not fear Xiao Chen's martial technique. Then, he could just chase after Xiao Chen and attack him. This fellow definitely has a weakness. It looks like the white-robed bladesman does not live up to his reputation. Is that all you are capable of? Mo Ran's lips curled up as he mocked Xiao Chen. Then he walked over step by step, closing in. However, Xiao Chen was completely immune to Mo Ran's mockery. This made Mo Ran even more certain that Xiao Chen's physical body had a weakness. That's it. A thought flashed in Xiao Chen's mind as he stared at Mo Ran's footsteps. From the very start, this fellow's feet had never left the ground. Mo Ran always had one foot on the ground. When Xiao Chen looked carefully, his feet and the ground seemed to follow some kind of pattern, a cycle of being one with nature. That must be it. Mo Ran's strongest defensive state requires his feet to be on the ground. Otherwise, Mo Ran must have some kind of treasure on him, like Xiao Chen's Neptune crown. He can only execute the water domain while standing on water. After Mo Ran left the ground, he would not be able to execute that strongest defensive state. What's wrong? Are you prepared to admit defeat? If you admit defeat now, I can let you leave with dignity. Otherwise, I'll make you scram the same way you made Huang Yun scram. Mo Ran's killing chi suddenly gathered and pressed down on Xiao Chen. Mo Ran's exposed skin flickered with a dazzling light. The visual impact was very strong. This was the body of steel that made ordinary people despair. You want me to admit defeat? Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said calmly, "You are the one who can't continue pretending, right? How did Huang Yun get down? You'll do the same." The lunar shadow saber spun around in Xiao Chen's hand before stabbing into the ground. When Mo Ran saw this scene, his expression changed drastically. However, it was already too late. The instant the saber stabbed into the ground, Xiao Chen's law energy poured in frantically. In that instant, the ground cracked, and a force burst out. The cracked ground turned into countless rocks, which were blasted into the air by this force. Mo Ran bore the brunt of the force, flying into the air along with the rocks under his feet. In the 1,000th of a second after Mo Ran flew up, a saber light as bright as the moon flashed. Mo Ran, who was not known for his speed in the first place, could not dodge at all. When this saber light arrived, Xiao Chen's 60% comprehended saber soul, which was at its limit. Although this flawless bright moon was fast, with the support of the 60% comprehended saber soul, its might was not weak at all. In terms of sharpness, it was even better than the Thunder Dragon chop. When this saber descended, Mo Ran shrieked miserably. A long, bloody gash appeared, nearly chopping off half his body. Blood flowed continuously from the wound on Mo Ran's chest. As he retreated, he left a bloody path on the ground. Mo Ran stood at the edge of the arena. His body wobbled a few times, but he did not get knocked back by the saber. How did you discover it? Mo Ran covered his wound with one hand, appearing extremely shocked. He had not expected his greatest secret to be exposed in just a few moves. At this point, the victor was already decided. Xiao Chen was not stingy. He answered honestly, "In the next fight, there is no need to speak too much. If you overdo it, you will expose your lack of confidence." Chapter 1182. If not for the other party purposely mocking him, causing Xiao Chen to doubt him, he would not have found the other party's weakness so quickly. Clearly, Mo Ran could not accept such an answer. He was stunned for a few seconds before he said, "Just you wait. When my Earth-returning origin art reaches the 10th layer, I will no longer have any weaknesses. Then I will come back to take revenge for today." Right after Mo Ran spoke, he quickly left the arena while holding his wound. Then he left the city without looking back. Xiao Chen looked at the other party's departing figure and entered deep thought. He had already found the other party's weakness. In the end, when Xiao Chen chopped down, he did not even manage to break the other party's ribs. This fellow's physical body was indeed ridiculously strong. If Xiao Chen could fix this weakness, he would definitely be a difficult opponent to deal with. Xiao Chen took note of this youth expert from the Human Demon Sea. After winning 2 matches in a row, Xiao Chen remained calm and composed. The spectators found his state incredulous. None of the people who could make it into the top 4 of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting were weak. They were all dragons and phoenixes among men, geniuses among geniuses. However, Xiao Chen came with the forceful kill token. It looked like he could easily send Huang Yun and Mo Ran away without any mercy. What excellent judgment! Perhaps he can really break the 10,000-year-old record and become the first outstanding talent to succeed in killing someone with the forceful kill token. It is hard to say. The further he goes, the more trump cards he will expose, and the more exhausted he will be. While it looked like he won the earlier 2 matches easily, I am sure that he exhausted a significant amount of his law energy. That's right. Furthermore, Lung Xan and Sima Lingxian are 2 great sword experts. They are not that easy to deal with. They are both aiming for the top rank. I wonder who Xiao Chen will choose for this match. Based on their earlier performances, Lung Xian and Sima Lingxian seem to be about the same. If it were me, I would choose Sima Lingxian. Lung Xian's aura is too scary. I keep feeling that he is unfathomable. After 2 battles, the cultivators who did not have high hopes for Xiao Chen now had a glimmer of hope. They all started guessing the direction of the future battles. After defeating Mo Ran, Xiao Chen's expression still did not change. Xiao Chen looked around at Sima Lingxian and Lung Xan before fixing his gaze on Lung Xan. A cold wind blew, and the temperature in the arena plummeted. Lung Xan said expressionlessly, "I am Lung Xan of the Ice Sea. Please give me some pointers." After greeting Xiao Chen, Lung Xian's aura turned even colder. His gaze roamed around every corner of Xiao Chen's body. The swordsman's eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. As long as Xiao Chen showed any weakness, he would discover it in a breath's time and launch an attack at lightning speed. Xiao Chen's heart tightened. When he saw the other party's gaze, he knew that he had met a difficult opponent. This opponent was probably more difficult to deal with than the previous 2. Whoosh, whoosh. A cold wind blew in the arena. The 2 looked at each other, clashing their auras. They were not in a rush to make a move. Instead, they waited for the moment the other party lost his cool. Then, they would make a move and gain the upper hand in one go. In a battle between a bladesman and a swordsman, the moment one made a move, the one who gained the upper hand would determine the outcome of the match. The one who gained the upper hand would not be able to turn the situation around. Of course, this was under the premise that the 2's cultivations were about the same. It was impossible for one to be perfect and flawless. Even if one stood still, one's aura fluctuated, one's state of mind fluctuated, one's thoughts fluctuated, and one's blood flowed at a steady pace. Without exception, there would always be an opening. A light seemed to flash in the 2's eyes amid the cold wind. At the same time, they caught hold of the other party's small opening and instantly attacked. The 2 drew their sabers and swords at the same time. Before they clashed, the Berserk Lightning Saber Soul and the Cold Sword Soul formed their own auras and clashed intensely. Metallic clangs rang out endlessly, spreading to every corner of the arena. It was like there were thousands of swords and sabers clashing with each other. Saber lights and sword images flickered everywhere. Lightning and ice clashed. Thunder roared together, tearing out countless bolts of lightning. The ice was merciless, and thousands of snowflakes drifted down. Dang! The 2 leaped up. Amid all sorts of mysterious phenomena, their figures flickered, and their sabers and swords clashed for the first time. The hum of the saber and the sword was like a dragon roar, piercing through the clouds and tearing apart the dark clouds. A strand of golden sunlight descended, looking like holy light. It focused on the instant Xiao Chen and Lung Xan clashed, forming a shocking scene. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 2 retreated the moment they clashed, executing their strong movement techniques and quickly exchanging moves. Every time the 2 clashed, the sound of sabers and swords clashing would turn into clear dragon roars soaring into the clouds, tearing through the clouds and sending down a strand of golden light. Be it Xiao Chen's Thunder Dragon steps or Lung Xian's mysterious footwork, they were both extremely fast. Ordinary people would not be able to clearly see their movements. Only when the sacred light descended did the 2 figures solidify into a picturesque scene in front of everyone's eyes. Watching the 2's intense battle was like looking at an extremely marvelous painting. As one flipped through the pages, they gradually entered a wonderful state. As the painting imprinted itself in their minds fluctuated, and their bloodlines swelled. Flawless bright moon. Boundless water moon. After another 100 moves, The two, who were evenly matched, each executed a killing move and started an intense clash, trying to gain the upper hand. Two bright moons appeared behind each of them. Xiao Chen's saber light was the radiance of the bright moon when it was at its most resplendent, boundlessly tyrannical. However, Lung Xian's sword light was the serene, peaceful and inseparable entanglement of the sea and the bright moon. It was much more complicated than Xiao Chen's simple tyranny. The two moons clashed. One side was the flawless moon, shining with unparalleled radiance. The other side was the reflection in the water. On the surface, it looked like a moon, but in reality, it was still a layer of cold water. After one move, the clouds in the sky, which were riddled with holes, completely shattered. A vast expanse of golden light poured down like a waterfall. Compared to the dark sky around them, the two people bathed in golden light appeared incredibly holy, even though their clothes were tattered and their bodies were bleeding profusely. There was an indescribable aura lingering around them. It caused people to feel a sense of worship in their hearts for no reason. The reason for this was that the two of them were true bladesmen and swordsmen. They possessed the extremely rare saber soul and sword soul in this world. Xiao Chen stood upright while holding his saber. Drops of blood slowly dripped off the tip of his saber. On the other side, drops of blood also dripped off the tip of Lung Xian's sword. The moment the two executed their killing moves, they simultaneously injured each other. However, the results were very different. Xiao Chen looked at Lung Xian and said, "Your sword technique is on par with my saber technique. However, my physical body is much stronger than yours. If we continue fighting, you will be the one to lose." Lung Xian's complexion paled slightly. He tacitly agreed with Xiao Chen's words, but he did not intend to admit defeat. "I still have one more chance. If I cannot defeat you with this move, I will admit defeat." This Lung Xian before Xiao Chen possessed a unique level of attainment in sword techniques and was very strong. If not for his saber's soul slightly restraining the other party and his physical body being much stronger than the other party's, Xiao Chen would not have been able to gain such a huge advantage in the earlier move. In the same move, Xiao Chen's saber light pierced through the other party's left chest. However, Lung Xian's sword light only opened a wound in his right shoulder, not even breaking a bone. Lung Xian's icy sword intent continuously corroded the wound, making Xiao Chen feel extremely uncomfortable. However, compared to Lung Xian's wound, Xiao Chen's was in a much better state. In terms of sword techniques, Xiao Chen believed that Lung Xian was no weaker than him. This was even because Lung Xian spent most of his time on his attainment in sword techniques. In terms of technique, Lung Xian might even be stronger than Xiao Chen. However, Xiao Chen held the advantage mainly because he had created his own flawless saber Dao. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen did not just cultivate saber techniques. His body tempering also stood out from the crowd, looking down on everyone. Unless the other party's sword techniques were much stronger than Xiao Chen's, Lung Xian would not be able to defeat Xiao Chen if they were evenly matched. Upon hearing that Lung Xian wanted to compete with him again, Xiao Chen's interest was immediately piqued. What kind of sword strike could make the other party feel that he could turn the situation around despite being at such a disadvantage? Xiao Chen said seriously, "Very well. I'll give you the opportunity to execute this sword strike. I will not drag this out." If Xiao Chen dragged things out, he would only need to exchange another 100 moves, not giving Lung Xian a chance to execute that sword strike. By relying on his physical body, Xiao Chen would be able to secure victory in this battle. Now, if Lung Xian sent out that sword strike, victory would be uncertain. However, Xiao Chen did not care. He had never intended to participate in this outstanding talent summit meeting in the first place. It was just an accident, throwing the Flame Rock Sovereign into this whirlpool. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they came. If Xiao Chen wanted to fight, he would fight to his heart's content. As for victory or defeat, Xiao Chen was already very indifferent to it. His mental state already far surpassed that of his peers. Surprise flashed in Lung Xian's eyes. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen agreed so readily. It seemed like Xiao Chen was even more indifferent to victory than Lung Xian himself. "Many thanks." Lung Xen bowed slightly and said sincerely after a while of silence. Such a scene moved the expressions of all the cultivators present. They could not help but admire the breadth of mind of the white-clad bladesman. Even after gaining a great advantage, Lung Xen could still calmly take a step back, all for the sake of seeing the sword strike that the other party said could defeat him. In everyone's mind, there were two words: the demeanor of a king. Naturally, the one who felt this the deepest was none other than Sima Lingxian. Sima Lingxian kept feeling that he was on a completely different level from Xiaoqun. Even though their cultivations were similar and their martial techniques and cultivation techniques were weaker, Sima Lingxian still felt like he could never catch up. But he had a feeling that he would never be able to catch up. An indescribable sense of despair and pain appeared in his mind. Sima Lingxuan's right hand, which held the sword, trembled. His left hand clenched into a fist, and his nails dug into his flesh. Scarlet blood seeped out. "You are too polite. You and I are both passionate people. There is no need to be so reserved. Please." Xiaoqun extended his hand and made an inviting gesture. Then, he took a stance and held his breath. He did not dare to be careless when facing this unknown sword strike. Chapter 1183. Lung Xen quickly reached out and pressed a few acupoints on his wounds, preventing them from worsening. Then, he took a deep breath and started to circulate all the law energy in his body. This sword move is called Million Mighty Ice Soldiers. It is a move that I created myself. It is not perfected yet, and even I cannot control its might. Brother Xiao, please be careful. Million Mighty Ice Soldiers? What a tyrannical name. They all say that your understanding of the will of ice is unique. In that case, I look forward to it. Buzz. Lung Xian's expression turned solemn, and the sword in his hand started humming. This humming was different from an ordinary sword humming. Everyone could hear the lofty sentiments of a powerful army amid this humming. The sound of 10,000 horses galloping resounded in all directions. A vast, hot-blooded killing chi continuously spread out from Lung Xian's body. It was hard to believe that the berserk killing chi came from Lung Xen, who looked like he did not have any hot-bloodedness at all. Lung Xen vomited a mouthful of blood on his sword. The humming sword suddenly stopped. All the aura in his body suddenly condensed, and he thrust his sword forward fiercely. After that, Lung Xen stood where he was and quickly brandished his sword. Sword lights dazzled everyone's eyes. In one breath, Lung Xen executed more than 100 different sword moves. With one sword move, 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers swept through the four seas. Cold lights flickered, and absolute shadows drifted about. The moisture in the air froze under this sword move. These shadows turned into many illusory figures. Each of these figures held a sharp sword, and their long hair fluttered in the wind. The sword lights that Lung Xen sent out from where he stood shone on these figures. However, these figures became even more indistinguishable. Furthermore, the sword moves of each figure were different. It was like the sword lights that Lung Xen sent out from where he stood reflected on these countless figures. Sword images filled the arena without end. Although 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers was an exaggeration, the vast and boundless aura made everyone feel the tyrannical aura of 10,000 horses galloping through the air. Xiaoqun narrowed his eyes. As these boundless sword images charged over, they gave off a vast aura that could sweep through the world, making everyone feel extremely insignificant. No wonder this Lung Xen placed all his hopes on this sword move. This was indeed a horrifying sword move. His mind fell into a state of unprecedented nervousness. With a tap of his foot, he spun backward. Every time Xiaoqun spun around, a mysterious phenomenon would emerge from his body. In the first circle, a blood moon flew out. The red moonlight revealed a desolate feeling that reached the bottom of one's heart. The second time, blood-colored pale remnant flowers flew out of his body. The pale remnant flowers were like blood, filled with grief. On the third lap, a vast expanse of snow appeared under Xiaoqun's feet, and he couldn't see the end of it. Azure dragon images flew out from the fourth circle. A white-robed bladesman surrounded the dragon images. The dragon roars revealed the tyranny of a bladesman. On the fifth round, Xiao Chen stopped in his tracks. He turned around and slashed out with his saber. Before coming here, he had comprehended that the mysterious phenomenon that instant of glory required was not a blind number but a precise combination. The mysterious phenomenon moved according to Xiao Chen's will, forming different scrolls of glory to deal with all sorts of martial techniques. This was the true instant of glory that he comprehended after crossing the threshold. The blood moon, the pale remnant flowers, the snowy ground, the dragon images, the bladesman, and the 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers in hot pursuit. When Xiao Chen executed the final saber strike, everything instantly gathered and formed an incredibly glorious scene. Such a scene appeared before everyone's eyes. A blood moon hung high in the sky, boundless snow fell on the ground, and pale remnant flowers drifted in the air. A powerful bladesman soared into the sky, facing the 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers alone. The moment Xiao Chen executed such an incredible martial technique, it deeply shocked all the spectating cultivators. Gorgeous, glorious, tyrannical, and profound. This saber strike was the instant of glory. With this saber strike, what can the 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers do to me? Lung Xian's sword strike was already an eye-opener. Unexpectedly, the will of ice could be used in such a manner. However, Xiao Chen's saber strike toppled everyone's understanding. It turned out that the saber could be used in such a manner as well. State of space? That's not right. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm still far from it. I still have a chance. Lung Xian, who had stopped swinging his sword, was slightly startled. Then, determination appeared in his eyes. Lung Xian pressed 2 fingers on his left hand against the blade of his sword. Then he ferociously sliced upwards, sending out a string of scarlet blood droplets. The glorious picture scroll was immediately stained with blood, and the desolate picture seemed even more miserable. The 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers, who were already suppressed, trembled. Their bodies were stained with blood as if they wanted to struggle free. Still not giving up? In that case, I will force back your 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers. The tyrannical air of a king flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He pointed with his left hand, and the painting suddenly shattered. The instant the painting shattered, strands of spatial power tore it apart and made it dim. However, with the support of Lung Xian's blood, these sword-wielding figures did not get torn to shreds. These mighty ice soldiers, whose might had decreased significantly, still charged at Xiao Chen majestically. Lofty sentiments welled up in Xiao Chen's heart. He held his saber with one hand and rooted his feet to the ground, not taking a single step back as he hacked down. Boom, boom, boom. Xiao Chen brought out his 60% comprehended lightning saber soul without holding back. Then he materialized the blue dragon battle armor and chopped down again and again. Thunder rumbled endlessly. With the roar of 10,000 bolts of lightning, the weakened 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers were forced back. One man and one saber forced back 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers alone. The countless sword-wielding figures forced Lung Xian to stop. He vomited a mouthful of blood, and the sword in his hand fell to the ground. I've lost. Lung Xian accepted his defeat. He smiled bitterly and bowed politely, admitting defeat. Then, he picked up his sword and silently left the arena. If Xiao Chen had not reached the threshold of instant of glory, allowing him to assemble the painting as he pleased, he would not have been able to block this sword strike. In the past, the instant of glory would not have been able to block this sword strike. Even now, Xiao Chen had not won easily. Lung Xian's law energy was nearly exhausted, and his body was riddled with wounds. Whoosh! The tens of thousands of spectators all stood up and cheered for Xiao Chen and Lung Xian, who left the arena. The reason was none other than that the final clash between the saber and the sword was simply too marvelous, inspiring excitement in everyone's hearts. They wished they could experience it for themselves. However, given Xiao Chen's current state and the fact that he still had to face this final battle, everyone could not help but worry. Unexpectedly, after the cheers ended, Xiao Chen's final opponent, Sima Lingxian, made a shocking decision. Huang Yun, Mo Ran, and Lung Xian were defeated one after another. Now, Xiao Chen, who came with the forceful charge token, only had to face his final opponent, Sima Lingxian. However, in Xiao Chen's current state, he had used several killing moves consecutively and fought continuously. Furthermore, his opponents were all outstanding talents of the same generation. His law energy was nearly exhausted, and wounds of various sizes covered his body. This was especially so for Lung Xian's 1 million mighty ice soldiers. Although Xiao Chen had relied on his own strength to force back the 1 million mighty soldiers, he was significantly injured as well. Mist covered his bloody wounds. With the obstruction of the ice sword intent, Xiao Chen found it hard to recover from his injuries. If Xiao Chen wanted to recover quickly, he had to stop and focus on removing the ice sword intent. After that, given his physical body, his wounds would heal in a few breaths. However, according to the rules of the challenge, Xiao Chen had no time to stop. He needed to drag his body to face his final opponent. However, under such a situation which favored Sima Lingxian, he unexpectedly said, "I admit defeat." Sima Lingxuan's expression was extremely complicated. His eyes filled with pain, and his right hand, which held the sword, trembled. No one knew why he was in such a situation. After saying such a thing, Sima Lingxian suddenly chose to admit defeat despite holding the upper hand. It really caused an uproar, and many people didn't expect this. The old man in the city lord's residence was clearly stunned for a while. After a long time, he said, "Sima Lingxian, have you thought it through? Are you really going to admit defeat? In such a situation, even if I win, what is the point? What is the point? 10 years have passed, and I am still inferior to him. What is all my hard work worth?" Sima Lingxian seemed to enter a berserk state. His eyes turned bloodshot, filled with despair and pain. Suddenly, Sima Lingxian drew his sword and chopped it with his palm. This treasure sword that had accompanied him for 10 years broke. The treasure sword broke into many pieces, injuring his palm until it bled profusely. Such a scene stunned everyone. They did not know what kind of blow Sima Lingxian had suffered. The empty-handed Sima Lingxian looked at Xiao Chen with a complicated expression. Then he rushed off into the distance without looking back. Aside from Xiao Chen, no one knew what happened. As Xiao Chen watched Sima Lingxian leave, he felt sorrowful in his heart. He understood Sima Lingxuan's helplessness, despair, rage, and pain. Back then, when Xiao Chen first left Mo City in the Sky Dome realm, he lost to Chu Chaoyun in half a move. That was also a kind of helplessness and despair. Xiao Chen was fortunate. In the final battle of the 5-nation youth competition, he defeated Chu Chaoyun and got rid of his heart demon. From then on, he set off on an even more glorious path. However, Sima Lingxian worked hard for 10 years and made a name for himself in Dark City. However, when Sima Lingxian saw that he still could not defeat Xiao Chen, his heart inevitably crumbled and he fell into complete despair. This was how cruel this great age was. Sima Lingxian waited for despair. In that case, what awaited Xiao Chen was despair as well. If Xiao Chen saw the undefeatable Chu Chaoyun 10 years later, would he crumble like Sima Lingxian today? No matter what, the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting came to an end. Xiao Chen became the first outstanding talent to use the forceful kill token in 10,000 years. Xiao Chen obtained all the prizes for the top 4 places, a total of 5,000 essence stones and 3 medial-grade profound martial techniques. This Outstanding Talent Summit meeting was full of climaxes and surprises. All sorts of changes dazzled everyone. The white-robed bladesman's powerful charge and defeat 3 people in a row. Furthermore, he beat up the crowd while drunk and chopped down the metal testing puppet with 1 saber strike. This would definitely spread Xiao Chen's name everywhere. This was especially so for the final battle with Lung Xian. It was an eye-opener, a sight that left everyone sighing in amazement. That moment of glory was something that all the cultivators present would never be able to forget. It would be forever imprinted in their minds. Chapter 1184. After rushing back to the Flame Rock Castle with Ba Yan and Ba Tu, Xiao Chen handed 2 of the 3 medial-grade profound martial techniques to the 2 of them. He only kept one medial-grade profound martial technique for bladesmen and the 5,000 essence stones. Not to mention the importance of the medial-grade profound martial technique, just the 5,000 essence stones were already a bountiful harvest for Xiaoqun. With so many essence stones, he would have no problem quickly cultivating to peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. By the time he reached the human demon sea, his cultivation would have reached peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. At that time, he could go to the Thunder King's cave to search for the death fruit. The timing would be just right. After arriving at the Flame Rock Castle, Xiaoqun immediately headed to his courtyard. How could he not know that the hemp-robed old man was the famous peak expert of the Black Sea, the Flame Rock Sovereign? The moment Xiaoqun entered the courtyard, he discovered that Ao Jiao and the hemp-robed old man were currently working on the dragon's subduing platform. They were doing major renovations to the already repaired dragon's subduing platform. What are they doing? That's not right. How did Ao Jiao get together with this old man? Xiaoqun felt like his brain could not keep up. After sleeping for half a month, too many things had happened that he did not know about. Little Yellow Feather was the first to discover Xiaoqun. It let out a sharp cry and immediately flew over, landing on Xiaoqun's shoulder. Xiaoqun tossed an astral core to Little Yellow Feather. This made the little fellow very happy, flying around Xiaoqun. The hemp-robed old man raised his head and smiled. Big sister Ao Jiao, look, who is back? Bang. When Ao Jiao heard that, her face darkened. She raised her hand and punched, sending the hemp-robed old man flying again. This startled Xiaoqun. He stepped forward and said, Ao Jiao, this is a senior. Don't mess around. Who knew? Ao Jiao smiled and said, Senior? Let's see if he dares to call me senior. Ignore this old man. How is the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting? Did it fail or succeed? That old geezer sent me away, and without a word of discussion, he threw you over. I was so worried. Ao Jiao asked out of concern, changing to a smiling expression. She revealed a charming smile on her pretty face. Xiaoqun thought to himself, it looks like these two are old acquaintances. He relaxed and gave a simple account of what happened at the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. I was right? I told you not to worry, but you did not believe me. The hemp-robed old man walked over while laughing. He did not put on any airs, not showing the temper of a sovereign martial emperor at all. Ao Jiao's face darkened, still ignoring him. Half an hour later, Xiaoqun finally understood the relationship between Ao Jiao and the hemp-robed old man, the Flame Rock Sovereign. 1,000 years ago was when the Thunder King, Sang Mu, was at his peak. At that time, Sang Mu was already a famous martial emperor, known as the strongest person under sovereign martial emperors. Several sovereign martial emperors did not even dare to fight with Sang Mu, fearing that they would lose their reputation if they lost. When Ao Jiao accompanied the Thunder King to the Black Sea, the Flame Rock Sovereign was only a child of 13 or 14 years old, just starting to show his talent. The Thunder King was very discerning, immediately recognizing the Flame Rock Sovereign's talent. While he was in the Black Sea, he taught the Flame Rock Sovereign for some time. Although they were not master and disciple, they could be considered half a disciple and a guide. Later, when the Flame Rock Sovereign broke through to Emperor Wu, the Thunder King personally protected him, preventing his enemies from interfering and allowing him to successfully clear his great tribulation of wind and fire. The Flame Rock Sovereign returned the favor. When the Thunder King broke through to Sovereign Martial Emperor, he risked his life to help Sang Mu clear his sovereign tribulation. The two were like teachers and friends. In the Flame Rock Sovereign's heart, the Thunder King Sang Mu would forever be a senior and a good friend. He felt even more gratitude and respect. Hey, speaking of which, senior, why do you keep calling Ao Jiao big sister? Xiaoqun asked casually after he understood what was going on. When the Flame Rock Sovereign heard that, he guffawed endlessly. Then, he said in a sorrowful tone, it's a long story. Back then, I was also very miserable. Under someone's punches, I was forced to call her big sister. If I did not, I would have been taught a lesson. Just thinking about it makes me feel bitter. Now, I call her that the moment I see her, and I still get beaten up. The Flame Rock Sovereign's aggrieved expression made Xiaoqun smile involuntarily. He roughly understood what was going on. After sleeping for 1,000 years, Ao Jiao still looked like a little girl. However, the Flame Rock Sovereign really became an old man. If such a person continued to call her big sister, he would definitely get angry. However, anger was anger. Xiao Chun could tell that the two's actions were mostly playful, reminiscing about the past. After playing around, the Flame Rock Sovereign revealed a serious expression. Then, he looked at Xiao Chen and said, "I heard from Big Sister that you want to inherit the Thunder King's inheritance?" The Outstanding Talent Summit meeting ended. However, the discussions about the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting were far from over. All the cultivators in Dark City, from the most popular conflagration restaurant to the simple and crude wine stalls at the roadside, discussed this extraordinary Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. The reason was none other than this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. There were simply too many things worth discussing. The magnificent martial techniques that the white-robed bladesman displayed, the unique comprehensions of the will of ice and the will of storm, the previous overlord Huang Yun's unexpected defeat, and so on. Of course, there was also the most shocking scene. When Sima Lingxian held the upper hand, he suddenly forfeited and admitted defeat. Sima Lingxuan's strength went without saying. After Huang Yun left, he was the most dazzling of all the outstanding youths in Dark City. Many people had expected that the biggest highlight of this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting would be the peak showdown between the old and the new outstanding talents. However, such a dazzling outstanding talent, who received so much attention, suddenly crumbled after Xiao Chun displayed his strength. This was simply incomprehensible. Some people said that Sima Lingxian had the air of a gentleman and did not want to defeat Xiao Chun, who was in a terrible state. Others said that Sima Lingxian could tell that Xiao Chun still had trump cards that he had not used yet. If he lost to Xiao Chun under such circumstances, he would lose even more face. However, no one could guess what the truth was. The scene of Sima Lingxian drawing his sword and chopping it off with one palm was a ghastly sight. There had to be a story between Xiao Chen and Sima Lingxian that others did not know. However, if the person in question did not say it, others would never be able to guess it. However, the more unfathomable something was, the more it piqued people's curiosity. They could not forget it and discussed it endlessly. As for the main character of this incident, after Sima Lingxian rushed out of Dark City, he appeared dispirited. He walked forward in a daze, not knowing where he was going. He turned a deaf ear to the pointing of the passers-by, completely ignoring them. After 10 years of hard work and boundless glory, Sima Lingxian felt lofty and hot-blooded, wanting to wash away his shame. However, reality was cruel. Those who wanted to chase after Sima Lingxian could only see his back. He was as tall as a mountain, forcing people to look up at him. Blood flowed continuously from Sima Lingxuan's hand as he walked. He did not know how long he had walked, but the edge of Dark Island was already before him. The vast sea stretched as far as the eye could see. However, suddenly, Sima Lingxian stopped. His chaotic mind suddenly paused. He saw a familiar figure at the edge of the island. That was an imposing figure standing in front of the sea. The vast and boundless sea did not seem like much. Only this figure appeared before everyone's eyes. Hu Qi. That figure slowly turned around and moved 10 kilometers like he had teleported. Then he appeared before Sima Lingxian. Adoptive father. Sima Lingxian could not say anything. His voice sounded choked with emotion. This person was the newly promoted Great Bandit of the Black Sea, the sovereign martial emperor Sex Buxiong, Sima Lingxuan's adoptive father. Sima Lingxian thought about how his adoptive father nurtured him, how much he hoped for him, and how much he cared for him like a relative. Sima Lingxian choked with emotion. He felt very useless. Guilt filled his heart, and tears almost flowed out uncontrollably. When Zhong Buxiong saw this scene, his heart ached slightly. He patted Sima Lingxuan's shoulder and did not say anything. Sima Lingxian could no longer control himself. He rushed forward and hugged Sima Lang, crying bitterly. Adoptive father, this child is useless. In the end, I did not manage to take this step. I have let adoptive father down. What kind of pressure did a 7-foot man have to endure to make him burst into tears? In this black sea that did not believe in tears and did not pity the weak, Sima Lingxian cried so sorrowfully. Zhong Buxiong did not say anything. He only released Sima Lingxian after he had cried enough. This vicious and merciless person, who killed all the cultivators of the previous great bandit's bloodline, revealed a benevolent expression in his eyes and a faint smile on his face. I know about the outstanding talent summit meetings matter. At the last moment, you chose to let go. In my opinion, you did not use an unfair battle to obtain victory to numb yourself. I feel very gratified. If you had really chosen to make a move in that battle, in my opinion, you would not have been able to walk out of the shadow of hatred. Even if you became a martial emperor, you would not have been able to be conferred a king. Zhong Buxiong slowly said something that Sima Lingxian did not expect. Sima Lingxian gaped and said, "Adoptive father, don't overthink. You did well. Don't place too much importance on this mental barrier. In everyone's life, there will always be some opponents who will make you feel despair. You will never be able to surpass them. What we need to do is not to compete with these people. Back then, your father did not understand, harming you and harming himself. Living in this world, we have to live for ourselves, not for our opponents." Sima Lingxian did not understand. He asked anxiously, "Adoptive father, are you asking me to resign myself to fate? It is not resignation. Let me ask you this. In the past 10 years, have you slacked off? No. Have you given up on working hard? Have you felt that you are wasting your time, not improving at all?" A few quick questions caused Sima Lingxuan's confused eyes to slowly light up. Now, he answered with more and more strength. "Do you still feel that you are useless?" Sima Lingxian replied sullenly, "No." "Very good. In that case, let me tell you." Xiao Chun swept through all the outstanding talents of the Kunlun continent's younger generation. Even the disciples of the primes lost to him. In the heavenly starry ocean, he defeated all the outstanding talents with one move. Do you feel that you lost unjustly? Among these people are the descendants of primes, the successors of the deity sovereigns, the disciples of the ghost monarch, the disciples of the corpse god. Every one of them is an outstanding talent. Zhong Buxiong enunciated every word with a heavy tone. Chapter 1185. When Sima Lingxian heard this, he felt like he was struck by lightning. "Adoptive father, you never told me all this before. I never told you either. If Xiao Chun does not advance to martial emperor within 4 years, he will have only 20 more years of lifespan, becoming a meteor and disappearing in a flash." Zhong Buxiong continued. When Sima Lingxian heard this, he was flabbergasted. This news was simply too shocking, completely unexpected. You feel that he is so strong that he makes others despair, putting you under a mountain of pressure. However, can your pressure be greater than his? Zhong Buxiong continued, "Look at him. He looks like he is about to collapse. Many people in the heavenly starry ocean are laughing at him. After the Qing Emperor, many people in the Kunlun realm are waiting for him to become a meteor. In terms of pressure, among the outstanding talents of this generation, no one can surpass him." Zhong Buxiong continued, "I can accept that your talent is not as good as his and your luck is not as good as his. However, don't lose to him in this aspect. A man has to cry unbridledly for once. Tears are the most precious thing in this world. You have to celebrate the fact that you can still cry. Some people can't even cry when they want to." Zhong Buxiong's words were like a bolt from the blue, striking Sima Lingxian and startling him to his senses, freeing him from the mental barrier that had plagued him for 10 years. Unexpectedly, there were too many unexpected things. The person whom Sima Lingxian regarded as his lifelong rival had actually experienced so much in the Kunlun realm in the past 10 years. "Adoptive father, thank you." Sima Lingxian had many things to say, but he did not know how to express them. He could only say thank you. Zhong Buxiong smiled happily. He knew that Sima Lingxian had completely broken free of his mental barrier. In this age of geniuses, Sima Lingxuan's future accomplishments would definitely surpass his own. Zhong Buxiong did not have any children. Back then, when he saved this child from the hands of the Black Sea pirates, he knew that this was a gift from heaven. Ha! Come, father will bring you out to drink. Wipe away your tears and let's go celebrate. Naturally, Xiaochen did not know about Sima Lingxuan's transformation. At this moment he was in the Flame Rock Castle, receiving an exceptionally serious interrogation from the Flame Rock Sovereign. Are you going to inherit the Thunder King's inheritance? Of course he had to inherit it. Otherwise, how could he obtain the extinct death fruit? If he did not cultivate the life and death art and condense the heart of an emperor, he would not be able to break through the Great Perfection Blue-Robed Emperor realm and enter the Great Perfection Blue-Robed Emperor realm within a year. Therefore, when he heard from Ao Jiao that there was a death fruit in the treasure left behind by the Thunder King, Xiaochen agreed without much thought. In fact, he had already guessed that there was a hidden story. With the huge amount of resources left behind by the Thunder King, with Ao Jiao's concern for him, she should have told him long ago. In the end, it dragged on until he had to obtain the Thunder King's relic before he agreed to bring him to the location of the Thunder King's relic. Seeing Xiaochen nod, the Flame Rock Sovereign looked at Ao Jiao and asked, "Big sis, you did not tell him what kind of responsibility there is for inheriting the Thunder King's relic, right?" Ao Jiao revealed a complicated expression. Then she shook her head and did not say anything. Indeed, the Flame Rock Sovereign revealed an expression of understanding. Then he looked at the confused Xiaochen and said, "Big sis did not tell you. In that case, I'll tell you. The person who inherits the Thunder King's relic has to take revenge for him and find out who killed him." Xiaochen felt confused. There did not seem to be anything wrong with this. Since he inherited the Thunder King's relic, taking revenge for him was naturally reasonable. "Brat, it looks like you really do not know what the consequences are for inheriting the Thunder King's relic?" The Flame Rock Sovereign said with a grave expression, "If it were that simple, I would have inherited the Thunder King's relic many years ago." The Flame Rock Sovereign showed some helplessness on his face. A clear trace of sorrow could be seen in his eyes. The Flame Rock Sovereign was a completely different person from his usual joking attitude. Given the Flame Rock Sovereign's current cultivation, he would not gain any benefits from inheriting the Thunder King's relic. What the Flame Rock Sovereign wanted to do was to take revenge for the Thunder King. However, the matter did not seem that simple. Hence, the Flame Rock Sovereign did not dare to make a move casually. Perhaps he felt a deep fear of this unknown enemy. The Flame Rock Sovereign said unhurriedly, "You don't understand. You simply don't understand how strong the Thunder King was back then. When he advanced to Sovereign Martial Emperor, he could already challenge the Prime Thunder King. However, he only barely lost to him by one move." In the past, Xiaochen did not understand how strong the Thunder King was. However, when he heard Ao Jiao talk about the Thunder King, Sang Mu lost to the Thunder King by one move, Xiaochen did not have a clear idea. However, the scene at the King Conferral Ceremony, where the Thunder Sovereign faced the Heaven-Abandoning Deity Sovereign and the Heaven-Punishing Corpse God alone without any fear, showed how strong the Thunder Sovereign was. Even when two primes worked together, they could not suppress the Thunder King. In other words, if Sang Mu had not challenged the Thunder King but Emperor Forsaken or the Heaven-Punishing Corpse God, the winner would definitely have been the Thunder King Sang Mu. The faction behind the person who dares to kill the Thunder King might involve a prime. Xiaochen felt like this was a blow to his head. The number of primes in this world could be counted on one's fingers. Including the primes of the oceanic world, there were no more than 2 hands. Primes represented the strongest people in this world. They had already touched the bottleneck of the peak of the martial epoch. No wonder Ao Jiao had not been willing to tell Xiaochen, not wanting him to inherit the Thunder King's inheritance. If the one who killed the Thunder King was a prime, then it would be impossible for Xiaochen to take revenge. Most of the primes of the Kunlun realm were gathered in the Kunlun continent. Back then, the Thunder King had been surrounded and attacked in the Kunlun continent. In that case, was the prime who killed him the deity race's Emperor Forsaken, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, or the Heaven-Punishing Corpse God? When Xiaochen raised these questions, the Flame Rock Sovereign rejected them all. He shook his head and said, "No, the Thunder King is not dead. These people would not dare to make a move on Big Brother Sang Mu. He killed the bearer of luck of my human race. The Thunder King's revenge will not rest until he dies. Those who feared the Thunder King's revenge would definitely not make a move. That was to say, the few primes of the Kunlun realm on the surface were not the ones who killed the Thunder King. This was because these primes all had factions and clansmen behind them that they could not bear to part with. They would not dare to fall out with the Thunder King. In that case, if it was not these people, then who was the one behind this? The 18 demon monarchs of the Deep Abyss? The 18 demon monarchs were all as strong as sovereign martial emperors. The top few were even as strong as primes. There were detailed records of all these during the past few demonic tribulations. However, if the demon monarchs wanted to cross the barrier of the sky and enter the Kunlun realm, they would cause a startling commotion. If the demon monarchs really did this, then the cause of the Thunder King's death would not be a mystery to this day, something that no one could resolve. Based on the current information, after the duel between Sang Mu and the Thunder King, the Eternal Heavenly Sword School's ancestor leaked the information, revealing Sang Mu's whereabouts. After that, Sang Mu fought with the mysterious cultivator with severe injuries, leaving behind an irreversible fatal wound. At this point, there was no hope for him. The news of the Thunder King's death quickly spread throughout the entire Kunlun realm. After that, the Thunder King went to the Phoenix's Passion Palace, a holy land, to ask for a lunar stone with divine nature to protect Ao Jiao. After that failed, he killed the holy scion of that time and forcefully snatched away the complete divine grade lunar stone. After that, the Thunder King made arrangements for his inheritance and returned to the Sky Dome realm, the place where his legend began. Because the Thunder King was already a dead person, although he broke the rule that Emperor Wu could not come to the Sky Dome realm, he did not receive any blame or investigation. Who would care so much about a dead person? Whether the mysterious cultivator who left a fatal wound on the Thunder King was dead or alive was still unknown. Right now, the only key to solving this mystery was the Eternal Heavenly Sword ancestor. In the past, no one knew of the existence of this Eternal Heavenly Sword ancestor. They even thought that he had died long ago. However, Xiaochen knew that not only was this person alive, but he was also closely related to the Thunder King's death. There was still a chance. As long as Xiaochen could pry open this person's mouth, he would be able to learn the truth behind the Thunder King's death. I will inherit the Thunder King's inheritance. Even if the person who killed him will drag in a prime, I will not have any fear. Xiaochen never hesitated. Even if it was a prime, he did not fear it. He only hesitated because he wanted to figure out the crux of this matter and see if he could solve this mystery. Since the mystery could be solved, there was no need for Xiaochen to hold back. The Flame Rock Sovereign did not feel surprised at Xiaochen's choice. He sighed and said, "I knew that you would not hesitate because of this. However, you should not push yourself too hard at any time. There are still many people behind you who care about you. Worry about your own life. Don't make those people sad." As the Flame Rock Sovereign said this, his gaze wandered around Ao Jiao. The person he was referring to went without saying. Feeling the somewhat heavy atmosphere, Ao Jiao smiled and said, "Old man, don't try to boost his morale with your words. My Xiaochen might be able to become a prime in the future and sweep through the world, becoming unrivaled in the world." The Flame Rock Sovereign smiled and said, "Sweep through the world, becoming unrivaled in the world. This goal is really big. Even the current Thunder King is only shaking the world with his might." Whether it was a joke or a bold statement, sweeping through the world, becoming unrivaled in the world, this ultimate goal was deeply imprinted in Xiaochen's heart. 3 days later, Xiaochen went to the Dark Blood Pool to collect the final reward of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. Perhaps Xiaochen's physical body had already reached a certain level and needed to rely on the Blue Dragon Body Nourishing Art to improve it. The Dark Blood Pool did not have a significant effect on Xiaochen. After coming out, Xiaochen took his leave in a low-profile manner. Then he left Dark City and headed for the distant Human Demon Sea. When Xiaochen thought about Yu Bingyun, who had agreed to travel with him, he felt somewhat disappointed. However, he still had to walk this path. If he wanted to sweep through the world, becoming unrivaled in the world, he had to advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years first. The white-robed bladesman left just like that. However, many cultivators would never forget his deeds for the rest of their lives. After this short trip to the Black Sea, the name of the white-robed Xiao Chen would become a legend among cultivators thousands of years later. Whether Xiao Chen was willing or not, his legendary journey would continue. Whoosh! The bright and beautiful sunlight descended. The sun that Xiao Chen had not seen in a long time returned to his eyes. After flying at full speed for 10 days, the Flood Dragon War Chariot finally brought Xiao Chen out of the Human Demon Sea. It was time to say goodbye to the lingering dark clouds, the most distinctive dark clouds of the Black Sea. During this short trip to the Black Sea, Xiao Chen had gained a lot. He obtained the life and death art that the Blood Sword Sovereign left behind on Blackwater Island and found the secret technique for breaking through to great perfection in advance, the Blue-Robed Emperor. Chapter 1186. At the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting, Xiao Chen successfully obtained an authentic medial-grade profound martial technique and several thousand essence stones that could support him until he reached peak great perfection of the Blue-Robed Emperor. He got to see outstanding talents from different sea regions. While they might not be a match for Xiao Chen, they gave Xiao Chen a different combat experience. Xiao Chen now knew that there was always someone better. On the path of the martial Tao, there would always be geniuses who could come up with wondrous ideas that he could not even imagine. In 10 days, Xiao Chen had a rough understanding of the medial-grade profound martial technique that he obtained. He discovered that this medial-grade profound martial technique was extremely hard to comprehend. This medial-grade profound martial technique was called Thousand-Year Hegemony Establishment. It was boundlessly tyrannical and involved the will of kingship as well as some of the mysteries of the state of time. Even the current primes could not comprehend the state of time. Naturally, Xiao Chen did not either. As Xiao Chen read on, it was as he expected. The one who researched this martial technique was a powerhouse from the ancient era, Emperor Wu. That was the Kunlun realm's most glorious era of the martial Tao, when martial emperors were as common as clouds and sages filled the streets. Xiao Chen estimated that he would need at least 1 month to understand the meaning of the martial technique. After that, he would need another 5 days to understand some of the basics. After that, he would practice for half a month to see if he could use it as he pleased. The Ba Tu and Ba Yu, who also obtained medial-grade profound martial techniques, or Zhao Feng, knew about such a fast comprehension speed, they would definitely cry. That Zhao Feng worked hard for 2 months and barely managed to execute a medial-grade profound martial technique. He could not control it freely at all. Its true might was not even as strong as the inferior-grade profound martial techniques that Xiao Chen was familiar with. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a strong wind blew in front. The wind was as sharp as a saber, seeming like it could tear through the air. Xiao Chen put down the secret manual and looked over. He saw a flock of large birds with metallic feathers 20 kilometers away, flying in his direction in a flock. Xiao Chen sensed that these birds were blue-robed emperor-level ferocious beasts. The strong wind from their wings increased instead of weakening after 10 kilometers. Troublesome. There were too many gales. If an ordinary blue-robed emperor was surrounded by these wind blades, they would inevitably suffer some flesh wounds. Frowning slightly, Xiao Chen's eyes shone with a golden light and a white light. The solar true flame and the lunar true flame flew out at the same time and chased each other. Soon, an enormous Taiji yin-yang flame diagram appeared before the war chariot. All the wind blades that flew over were completely incinerated when they collided with the flame diagram. After Xiao Chen withdrew the yin-yang flame diagram, he waved his hand, and little yellow feather flew out excitedly from the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen flew towards the flock of ferocious birds. When these large birds got close, they were no longer a threat to Xiao Chen. They were suitable for little yellow feather to practice with. Ignoring little yellow feather's situation, Xiao Chen took out the sea chart and looked at it. He felt somewhat melancholic as he discovered that the sea chart stopped at the Black Sea. The Human Demon Sea was already at the edge of the oceanic world. Most of the sea region between the Black Sea and the Human Demon Sea was the Desolate Sea. Furthermore, it was very large. There were very few accurate sea charts in the heavenly starry ocean that could record such a large area. Xiaochen could only find a general direction and explore it slowly. Driving the Flood Dragon War Chariot, Xiaochen continued his journey. For the remaining 10 days, Xiaochen only saw the vast sea and speckled desolate islands. Occasionally, he ran into all sorts of ferocious beasts. However, he did not see anyone. Xiaochen wondered if this Flood Dragon War Chariot was too fast, causing him to go in the wrong direction. If the war chariot was too fast and went in the wrong direction, by the time he reacted, he might end up in a completely different direction. On this particular day, Xiaochen finished cultivating and used the essence stone in his hand. The instant he opened his eyes, he happened to see a group of cultivators in the air. He immediately revealed an expression of joy. After more than 20 days without seeing anyone, one could easily imagine Xiaochen's current mood. Under Xiaochen's command, the 4 blue-robed Emperor-level flood dragons sped towards that group of people. This was a group of blue-robed Emperor-level experts. The leader was a gray-robed, middle-aged man with a mature air. He was a consummation blue-robed Emperor-level cultivator. When he saw Xiaochen driving the Flood Dragon War Chariot over, he waved his hand and immediately got everyone to raise their guard. Friends, there is no need to worry. We do not have any malicious intentions. We are just here to ask for directions. Xiaochen stopped the Flood Dragon War Chariot 5 kilometers away and made his intentions clear, lest there be any unexpected problems. What a strong war chariot! The 4 flood dragons are all blue-robed Emperor level. This is probably the peak King grade war chariot. It is really awe-inspiring. Big brother, that brat seems to be only a great perfection blue-robed Emperor-level cultivator. Furthermore, he is alone. As Xiaochen sized up this group of people, they all sized up Xiaochen as well. When they saw the Flood Dragon War Chariot, their eyes lit up. A strange light flashed in the eyes of the gray-robed, middle-aged man as well. However, when he saw Xiaochen, he quickly calmed down and stopped his restless subordinates. This is the Dragon Grave Sea. Where did you come from? The middle-aged man asked as he performed a cupped fist salute. This gesture also expressed his goodwill. It was an unspoken rule among cultivators. Xiaochen put away the Flood Dragon War Chariot and arrived before this group of people with a flash. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "I come from the Dark Sea. What sea region is this Dragon Grave Sea? I have never heard of it before. Can you tell me how far it is from the Human Demon Sea?" The gray-robed man smiled and said, "The Dragon Grave Sea is just a small sea region. It is normal not to have heard of it. However, I believe you have heard of the Distant Sea Dragon Grave, one of the 8 Great Forbidden Lands." Distant Sea Dragon Grave Sea. Xiaochen's eyes lit up as he guessed something. He said, "Could it be that one of the 8 Great Forbidden Lands, the Distant Sea Dragon Grave, is in this Dragon Grave Sea?" The gray-robed man nodded and said, "This is how the Dragon Grave Sea got its name. Our group is planning to go to a dragon grave to adventure. If you want to go to the Human Demon Sea, the direction is correct. However, it is still very far away." Xiaochen thanked the gray-robed man and asked, "Can you sell me a sea chart? I can pay a high price for it." Unexpectedly, the black-robed man shook his head and rejected Xiaochen. Just as Xiaochen felt suspicious, the black-robed man pointed in a direction and said, "If you follow this direction for another 500 kilometers, you will see an archipelago. It is very cheap to buy a sea chart there. There is no need to spend a lot of money to buy it from me." When Xiaochen heard this, he could not help having a good impression of this middle-aged man. He said, "I am Xiaochen. Can I know your name? If we meet again in the future, I will definitely thank you heavily." The gray-robed man smiled faintly and said, "I am Lu Hao. There is no need to thank me heavily. It is just a small favor." After they parted, one of the gray-robed man's companions immediately said excitedly, "Big brother Lu, how could you just watch as a fat lamb slipped away?" Indeed. Just that Flood Dragon War Chariot is worth tens of millions of black astral coins. It is much better than us going to the Dragon Grave to try our luck. It is just a great perfection blue-robed emperor. There are so many of us, and Big Brother is a consummation blue-robed emperor. What is there to fear? The gray-robed man's expression turned serious as he said coldly, "You are short-sighted. Not to mention this person, just his eyes alone made me not dare to underestimate him. Just based on the fact that he heard your discussion and still dared to come alone, it means that he is not someone we can deal with." Seeing that there were still a few people in the group who were not convinced, the gray-robed man could not be bothered with them. This group had been put together at the last minute and did not have a deep relationship with them. Some people's hearts had already changed. There was no point in trying to force them to stay together. If any of you want to leave the group, you better scram now. Otherwise, you might end up harming everyone after you go to the dragon grave, the gray-robed man said coldly. The moment the gray-robed man said that, a few people immediately felt tempted. Without saying anything else, they flew in the direction that Xiao Qin had taken. When these people were far away, Lu Hao said indifferently, "There is no need to care about them. They are already dead people." Lu Hao's confident tone sent a chill down the backs of some of the people who did not go. After putting away the flood dragon war chariot, Xiao Qin, who was dressed lightly, followed the direction that the gray-robed man Lu Hao pointed. After walking for 1 hour, he finally saw the silhouette of an island. That was right. It was indeed a group of islands densely packed together, forming a large group of islands. If one looked down from the sky, one would discover that the silhouette of this group of islands resembled a coiling dragon. Normally, one would not see any islands in the desolate sea. Now that he saw so many islands, Xiao Qin revealed a gratified smile. He no longer had to worry about going the wrong way and getting lost. Suddenly, Xiao Qin frowned. He lowered his head to look at the sea under his feet, and a strange expression appeared on his face. However, when he sent his spiritual sense to the bottom of the sea, he revealed an expression of relief. Xiao Qin had only exchanged a few words with that gray-robed man. However, based on his intuition, Xiao Qin concluded that this gray-robed man was more cautious and experienced. Although this gray-robed man was greedy, he could control himself well. He knew who he could offend and who he could not. When Xiao Qin noticed that someone was following him at the bottom of the sea, he found it strange that the gray-robed man had returned. When he used his spiritual sense to see that it was the other three, he understood. Xiao Qin's lips curled up in a faint smile as he stopped. He could not be bothered to waste time with these people. He circulated all the law energy in his body and took the initiative to strike the sea, throwing a palm strike. A resplendent bright moon that looked like fire exploded in the deep sea, kicking up towering waves that surged up continuously for 50 kilometers around. When Xiao Qin raised his palm strike, he executed his killing move, the 1,000-year flame. The bright moon exploded in the water, carrying Xiao Qin's lofty aspirations. It kicked up 1,000 layers of waves and soared through the clouds. Following a few cries, 3 figures leaped out of the water. All of them were covered in wounds, and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. Although the vast explosive force of the 1,000-year flame was split among the 3, it was somewhat reduced. However, these 3 were caught off guard. They were still thinking about how to sneak attack Xiao Qin when the 1,000-year flame struck them while they were unprepared, severely injuring them in an instant. The unexpected palm strike immediately dispelled these 3's thoughts of robbing Xiao Qin. Horror appeared in their eyes as they tacitly split up and fled. Since Xiao Qin had already made a move, he had no intention of letting these 3 off. If they wanted to target him, then they had to be prepared to pay the price. A murderous intent flashed in Xiao Qin's eyes as he executed Thunder Dragon steps. With every step he took, hundreds of lightning dragons shot out of the seawater. Chapter 1187. One step, one saber strike. After 3 saber strikes, the 3 figures merged. The already severely injured 3 people were chopped in half by the Thunder Dragon chop. This place was already not far from that island. Many cultivators passed by this place. When these people saw Xiao Qin's means, they were all skilled and bold. They did not fear him at all as they pointed and discussed the saber techniques that Xiao Qin executed in soft voices. What an incredible blades man. I don't think I've seen him before. He is probably new. He is only a great perfection blue-robed emperor, but he can erupt with the cultivation of a consummation blue-robed emperor. He is indeed strong. That's nothing. After all, this dragon grave sea does not lack experts. It is not strange. Xiao Qun sheathed his saber. This was a small interlude and the discussions of the bystanders. However, Xiao Qun did not care too much about them as he rushed to the island. Xiao Qun arrived at a nearby island and bought a sea chart from a shop. Then, he spent a little more black astral coins to obtain the information on the Dragon Grave Sea. As its name suggested, the Dragon Grave Sea was named after the distant Sea Dragon Grave, one of the 8 great forbidden lands. The distant Sea Dragon Grave was somewhat similar to the Savage Continent's Dragon Burial Mound. They were both mysterious lands where dragons were buried. However, one was on land, and the other was the sea. Other than the famous Forbidden Ground, the distant Sea Dragon Tomb, there were other dragon tombs of various sizes and dangers in this region of the sea. The dragon graves contain true dragon remains worth cities as well as all sorts of natural treasures. If one could obtain any one of them, they would make a huge profit. Furthermore, the dragon graves in this sea all contained extremely precious burial items, which was very wondrous. It was like these distant ancient true dragons were a race with their own civilization. The burial items included not only all sorts of secret treasures, divine materials, but even martial techniques. Hence, there were many foreign blue-robed emperor cultivators in this archipelago. All of them came to explore the dragon graves, hoping to obtain fortuitous encounters that belonged to them. A thought occurred to Xiao Qun. He was not interested in these dragon graves. Instead, he thought that since there were so many dragon graves, there would definitely be a lot of dragon soul secret treasures and all sorts of natural treasures. Xiao Qun had always needed secret treasures containing dragon souls. Now that the blue dragon body nourishing art had reached the crucial point of the second layer, he urgently needed some secret treasures containing dragon souls to help him break through. There were also many heavenly and earthly treasures. There might even be the flower of life that he needed. The death fruit was among the treasures left behind by the Thunder King. There was no need to worry about it. As for the flower of life, it was something that gave Xiao Qun a headache. Normally, the flower of life only appeared in the human demon sea. Furthermore, it was extremely rare and had not been seen for many years already. There was little hope of finding it here. However, it was good to try his luck. If he could not find it, he would go to the human demon sea to think of another way. "Boss, are there any underground markets here?" Xiao Qun asked the shop owner. Normally, such places would have markets, providing a place for those who risked their lives to obtain treasures from the dragon graves to trade. If he wanted to find good things, he would have to go to the underground market. After all, many of the items were obtained by killing others. It was impossible to sell them openly. If he wanted to make a move quickly and safely, he could only do so through the underground market. Although the shop owner was not a cultivator, he had been doing business here for a long time. Naturally, he knew about this. He answered, "Our island is too small. We do not even have a market. Naturally, there is no underground market. The underground market of the Dragon Grave Sea is on Treasure Dragon Island. You can go there and ask around." "Many thanks." Xiao Qun smiled faintly and thanked the shop owner. Then he flew to Treasure Dragon Island. In the sea chart, the island where Treasure Dragon City was located was the largest island in this archipelago. It occupied the center of the island, where all the adventuring foreign experts gathered. Xiao Qun walked casually on Treasure Dragon Island. When he glanced around, he saw a group of blue-robed emperor cultivators walking together. Furthermore, they were all great perfection blue-robed emperors at the very least. Small perfection blue-robed emperors were nowhere to be seen. They were not even worth mentioning. The order on the island was extremely chaotic. Fighting and killing could be seen everywhere. This did not surprise Xiao Qun. The movement of cultivators in the Dragon Grave Sea was very high. Aside from some merchant associations that occupied this place for a long time, there were no sects or clans here, so they could not set any rules. The largest city on Treasure Dragon Island was Treasure Dragon City. In terms of size, it was no smaller than Blackwater City, which Xiao Qun had seen before. However, in terms of style, there was no comparison at all. It looked extremely ordinary. There were no guards at the city gates. Actually, there was no need for guards. No one would obediently walk through the city gates. They all flew in without any fear. Xiao Chen thought to himself, this place is extraordinarily chaotic. After going to the underground market, I have to leave quickly. The location of the underground market was not hard to find. The entrance was in a restaurant in the city. Behind the market were the few strongest merchant associations in the Dragon Grave Sea. No one dared to cause trouble there, maintaining a pretty good trading environment. After Xiao Chen paid, he was easily let in. Then he followed the long and narrow secret path of the restaurant and arrived at the underground market. The market was made up of several trading streets. Wealthy cultivators could rent a shop and sell their treasures. Most cultivators chose to set up stalls. There were many people on the streets. The cultivators on the main street traded in all sorts of things. The other streets were more detailed, either secret treasures, natural treasures, medicinal pills, or secret manuals. Xiao Chen first went to the place where secret treasures were traded. Then he casually strolled around. The streets were very crowded. Many cultivators were like Xiao Chen, wandering around the streets. The secret treasures on display at the stalls were all very unique. They looked ancient and gave off a heavy ancient aura. Occasionally, the words carved on the secret treasures were filled with an ancient charm and a foreign aura. After casually chatting with a stall owner, Xiao Chen learned that these were dragon race secret treasures from an extremely distant era. Dragon race. I've heard of true dragons before. What's going on with the dragon race? They actually know how to refine their own secret treasures? Xiao Chen asked, feeling it was strange. That stall owner had nothing to do, so he chatted with Xiao Chen for a while. Then he smiled and said, who can say for sure what happened during the ancient era? It is probably millions of years ago. It is not surprising that there was a glorious dragon race. This was the post-ancient era. Before the post-ancient era, there was the glorious ancient era. Before the ancient era, there was the desolate ancient era. Before the ancient era, there was the distant ancient era. The gap in time was too large. What Xiao Chen had a better understanding of now was that glorious ancient era, which was at the peak of the martial Tao. Xiao Chen knew very little about the desolate ancient era and even less about the history of the distant ancient era. There were not even many remnants left. Xiao Chen thought about it and agreed. After the end of the immortal epic, there were too many mysteries in this world. It was not strange that a glorious dragon race appeared during the distant ancient era. Friend, are there any secret treasures containing dragon souls here? I would like to purchase some. Do you know where I can find them? Xiao Chen asked after putting down the secret treasure in his hand. Secret treasures containing dragon souls? The stall owner smiled and said, in that case, you have come to the right place. Every secret treasure here has some degree of dragon soul in it. After all, the original owner was a dragon race cultivator. In theory, the spiritual mark left by the original owner is a dragon soul. There is such a thing. This piqued Xiao Chen's interest. He casually picked up a secret treasure and sent in his spiritual sense to search for the spiritual mark left by the original owner. After a while, Xiao Chen felt this spiritual mark and could not help feeling disappointed. It was indeed a dragon soul. However, it was too weak and would not have any effect on Xiao Chen. This is a little too much, right? Xiao Chen smiled and put down the secret treasure. The stall owner did not deny. He smiled and said, it is indeed too much. You should be cultivating some kind of cultivation technique that requires the assistance of a dragon soul. In that case, it should be enough for you to buy a superior grade king grade secret treasure. The one you took earlier was only an inferior grade king grade secret treasure. When Xiao Chen heard this, he tested it out. Indeed, it was as the stall owner said. The spiritual mark left by a superior grade king grade secret treasure was an extremely strong dragon soul. This probably had something to do with the original owner's strength. The stronger one was, the stronger the spiritual mark would be. All right, I'll buy the 3 superior grade king grade secret treasures you have. The stall owner's words were true. Xiao Chen happily paid the bill, spending 2 million black astral coins to buy all 3 superior-grade king-grade secret treasures. The stall owner had a wide smile on his face as he watched Xiao Chen search for more secret treasures. He muttered, "I wonder where this noble clan's young master came from. He is really straightforward, making a deal with one price." Following that, Xiao Chen verified his guess. It was indeed as the stall owner said. As long as it was a superior-grade king-grade secret treasure of the dragon race, it would all have a strong dragon soul. However, Xiao Chen did not make a big purchase. There were many eyes in this place and there were many experts. There was no guarantee that someone would target him. Choosing a cautious method, Xiao Chen spent 2 days in a low-profile manner sweeping up all the superior-grade king-grade secret treasures on this street. Xiao Chen's luck was pretty good. He even found a peak-quality king-grade secret treasure with a terrifyingly strong dragon soul in it. Although it did not have any intelligence, its ferocious nature still remained, injuring Xiao Chen's spiritual sense. After sweeping through all the secret treasures, Xiao Chen spent more than half of the 70 million black astral coins he had. After that, he rushed to the street where natural treasures were sold, trying to find news about the flower of life. In the end, he was unlucky. There was no news at all. Everyone said that it was a species on the verge of extinction. The flower of life had never appeared in the Dragon Grave Sea before. This was an expected result, so Xiao Chen was not overly disappointed. After he left, he rented a room in a restaurant and started to cultivate the blue dragon body nourishing art. Xiao Chen had already reached the peak of the blue dragon body nourishing art's 2nd layer long ago. He only lacked divine materials and he would be able to break through. Now, Xiao Chen had bought many secret treasures containing dragon souls and easily made breakthroughs, cultivating the blue dragon body nourishing art to the 3rd layer. Xiao Chen still had a considerable number of secret treasures containing dragon souls. He had not exhausted all of them, so he decided to continue cultivating in one go, stabilizing his cultivation of the blue dragon body nourishing art's 3rd layer. When Xiao Chen thought about the cultivation of the azure dragon body nourishing art, it was not something that an ordinary person could cultivate. The resources required were vast. Up until now, Xiao Chen had spent close to 100 million black astral coins. However, he had only reached small perfection of the 3rd layer. There were still 6 more layers, each more important than the one before. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had discovered a shortcut. Secret treasures containing dragon souls could increase his cultivation speed. If he had not discovered this secret, the expenditure would have been even more horrifying. Chapter 1188. However, the benefits were clear. After condensing the blue dragon battle armor, Xiao Chen's physical body would surpass that of the fiend race geniuses with the heavenly spiritual body. 10 days later, Xiao Chen used up all the secret treasures containing dragon souls, including that peak-quality king-grade secret treasure. More than 40 million black astral coins were gone, just like that. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and spat out a long breath of turbid air. The moment he stood up, the bones in his entire body gave off crackling sounds. Xiao Chen opened his acupoints, and dragon-shaped energy leaked out uncontrollably, spreading throughout the entire room and forming hazy dragon clouds. His entire body felt very comfortable. Xiao Chen felt that his physical body had improved by another level, and his vital qi had increased to 20 dragon force. With a thought, Xiao Chen circulated his energy, and his vital qi surged in his body, giving off dragon roars. After reaching the 3rd layer, Xiao Chen condensed the blue dragon battle armor for the first time. This time, the blue dragon battle armor no longer covered his entire body. Instead, it truly permeated his skin and flesh, forming an incomparably close connection. It felt like it was his own skin. There was no discomfort at all. The battle armor wrapped itself even tighter, and its surface glowed like flowing water. There was also a formless tyrannical aura of kingship surrounding Xiao Chen as the battle armor appeared, making him look like a human-shaped dragon. If Xiao Chen continued cultivating this, when he brought out the blue dragon battle armor, his entire physical body would change, forming a physique that was somewhere between a human and a dragon. Kasi. With a thought, Sharp spikes popped out of Xiao Chen's arms, ankles, and other joints. Then he stretched his limbs and clenched his fists. He could feel a gushing, river-like energy. Fortunately, this was a superior room with sufficient space and decent soundproofing. This allowed Xiao Chen to familiarize himself with this new blue dragon battle body without worrying too much. Right now, a normal Great Perfection blue-robed emperor is no longer a threat to me. I just don't know how big the gap is between me and half-step Emperor Wu. Xiao Chen withdrew the dragon power from the blue dragon armor and returned to his white robe. His eyes revealed a fiery light as he murmured. The blue dragon body nourishing secret art had stabilized at the 3rd tier, and his strength had increased. This made Xiao Chen extremely eager to fight, and he really wanted to have a great battle with the half-step Emperor Wu. However, he was not an arrogant person who would make trouble out of nothing. He would never take the initiative to provoke a half-step Emperor Wu, or think that he was invincible in the blue-robed emperor realm and challenge a few Great Perfection blue-robed emperors at the same time. Xiao Chen's mental state allowed him to control the inflated confidence that came with his increase in strength. All the major characters who had seen him before, like the Haotian Emperor and the Flame Rock Sovereign, were extremely shocked by Xiao Chen's mental state. It was truly remarkable for Xiao Chen to have such a mental state at such a young age. As the saying went, the greater one's ability, the greater one's desire. Many outstanding talents in history could not overcome this obstacle of desire, ruining their bright futures in their own hands. After sorting out his emotions, Xiao Chen intended to have a drink before leaving this chaotic place. After pushing open the door, Xiao Chen walked down the corridor. Just as he reached the corner of the 2nd floor, he saw another argument about to turn into a fight. The status of this restaurant in Treasure Dragon City was somewhat like that of the Conflagration restaurant in Dark City. Because there were secret passages leading to the underground market, it had always been very popular. Going in and out, there were many people at every moment, and this was how the conflict arose. Someone in the hall wanted to go out. In the end, an extremely fast youth knocked into that person. The youth who knocked into that person had a fiery temper and started cursing on the spot. Where did this dog come from? How blind! How dare he block my Duguao's path? How reckless! How could the middle-aged man who was knocked into endure this? He had not even lost his temper, yet the person who knocked into him became angry. How preposterous! An intense fight immediately unfolded. Although fighting was prohibited in the underground market, it was not prohibited in the restaurant. The people in the restaurant were used to fighting and whatnot. Seeing that there was something interesting to watch, a group of people came over from the railings of the various floors with wine cups in hand to watch the excitement. Everyone remained as calm as still water, chatting and drinking, commenting on the situation. This was one of the wonders of the Dragon Grave Sea. It's this Duguao again. He is still as arrogant as before. That middle-aged man is probably in trouble. He is probably new and has not heard of Duguao's name before. When Xiao Chen heard the discussions, he could not help but feel interested in this Duguao. Based on the discussions of the others, this Duguao was about 50 years old. Duguao looked extremely young. Clearly, he had advanced to martial sage long ago. However, his appearance would not change beyond 100 years old. Of course, in the Kunlun realm, 50 years old was indeed a very young age. One could not use the standards of Xiao Chen's previous life to look at it. Xiao Chen asked the person beside him, "What is this Duguao's background?" That person wore luxurious clothes and took a sip of wine. He seemed to be in a pretty good mood. That person introduced excitedly, "This fellow's background is incredible. He is one of the top 10 young experts of the Human Demon Sea. He is only 50 years old, but he already reached consummation blue-robed emperor. There will not be any problems with him advancing to martial emperor in the future. How enviable. Thinking about it, I spent 100 years as a great perfection blue-robed emperor before I advanced to consummation blue-robed emperor. That is already an incredible talent. Compared to this fellow, it is nothing." Xiao Chen felt enlightened. However, he did not think that it was incredible. Becoming a consummation blue-robed emperor at 50 years old was indeed an incredible talent. However, compared to his generation, he was still far from it. Not to mention Xiao Qun, just comparing Di Wux's group of people, who knew what kind of improvements they had in the astral battlefield. As long as they could persevere and survive, they would probably have reached great perfection blue-robed emperor by now. Furthermore, most of them were only about 30 years old. Given the talent of this group of people, they would not have any problems breaking through to consummation blue-robed emperor in less than 5 years. If they had some other fortuitous encounter, they might even be able to reach consummation blue-robed emperor in 2 or 3 years. As for Xiao Qun himself, even without the blood sword sovereign's life and death art, he would be able to reach consummation blue-robed emperor in another 3 years. In this great age, when those outstanding talents with luck improved, it would not be an exaggeration to say that they advanced by leaps and bounds. Why do you look like you are not convinced? The cultivator in luxurious clothes holding up a wine cup raised his eyebrows. Xiao Qun smiled and did not say anything, continuing to watch the intense battle between the two in front of the door. After watching for a while, Xiao Qun guessed the result. Although that middle-aged man was also a consummation blue-robed emperor and was pretty strong, compared to Dugu Ao, his movement technique, strength, martial technique, and physical body was far weaker. However, compared to Dugu Ao, Xiao Qun's movement technique, strength, martial technique, and physical body were far inferior. Defeat was just a matter of time. Now that Xiao Qun knew the result, he lost some interest and stopped paying attention to the battle in front of the door. Taking advantage of this opening, Xiao Qun picked a good seat on the second floor and ordered a table full of food and wine, minding his own business as he ate. However, the result somewhat exceeded Xiao Qun's expectations. Just as the middle-aged cultivator was about to lose, a half-step Emperor Wu appeared. A strange black snake tattoo hung down on this dazzling bald man's head, covering half of his face. That snake head happened to overlap with his left eye, looking extremely sinister. The moment the bald half-step Emperor Wu revealed his cultivation, he immediately shocked the crowd and saved that middle-aged cultivator. Big brother! When the middle-aged man saw the bald man arrive, he revealed an expression of joy. So, it is a friend of the bald-headed snake, Wu Ku. No wonder he dares to oppose Dugu Ao. Clearly, this bald man was quite famous. Many people in the restaurant knew him. The moment he appeared, many people recognized him. Young man, there is no need to be too arrogant. I will not bother with you this time. Wu Ku looked coldly at Dugu Ao. Then, he quickly led the middle-aged cultivator away from this place. Although Dugu Ao did not fear this bald man, he knew that he was not a match for him. If he fought head-on, he would be the one at a disadvantage. Seeing the other party leave, Dugu Ao cursed unhappily. Then he headed for the second floor. Dugu Ao looked around and immediately spotted a good spot for Xiao Qun. Then he walked over. Scram! I've taken a fancy to this spot. This was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. To the others, Dugu Ao's actions were very normal. I'm stronger than you, so I have the authority to tell you to scram. If you are as strong as a half-step Emperor Wu, you can tell Dugu Ao to scram as well. When most people encountered such a situation, they would pinch their noses and leave. In the Dragon Grave Sea, this was not a big deal. Interesting. This brat was unconvinced earlier. Now that he ran into Dugu Ao, he has no choice but to accept it, the well-dressed man who introduced Dugu Ao to Xiao Qun earlier said with a smile as he held up his wine cup. Xiao Qun ignored Dugu Ao's words. He calmly drank his wine and ate as if he did not hear what Dugu Ao said. You are seeking death. Dugu Ao was already in a bad mood in the first place. Earlier he suffered at the hands of the half-step Emperor Wu. Now, an insignificant great perfection blue-robed emperor dared to clash with him. His anger immediately flared up. Dugu Ao raised his hand and punched at Xiao Qun. At this moment, a light suddenly flashed in Xiao Qun's calm eyes. Xiao Qun gently flicked his right hand, and one of the two chopsticks in his hand flew at Dugu Ao's eyes like an arrow. The other quickly spun and clashed with Dugu Ao's fist. Whoosh! The strong wind was like a saber. The spinning chopsticks kicked up a sharp gale, blowing up all the hair in front of Dugu Ao's forehead. This allowed Dugu Ao to see even more clearly. The chopstick stabbing at his eyes was like an unparalleled treasure saber, boundlessly sharp and containing a horrifying saber intent. Dugu Ao's face sank. He had not expected to run into an expert. His thoughts raced. He could not think of any other way to deal with this, aside from retreating. Bang! When the spinning chopstick struck Dugu Ao's fist, he immediately felt pain. Without hesitation, he quickly pulled back his fist to protect his eyes and quickly retreated. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. His right hand moved as fast as lightning, moving at a dazzling speed to grab the chopsticks flying at Dugu Ao's eyes. When Xiao Chen retreated, the second spinning chopstick happened to turn around. The two chopsticks returned to Xiao Chen's hands. Then he picked up some food and drank some wine. However, he still did not look at Dugu Ao. After testing the waters, Xiao Chen's simple and miraculous two chopsticks easily forced back the enraged Dugu Ao, shocking everyone present. Chapter 1189. If not for the people present having extremely sharp eyes, they would not have been able to tell that Xiao Chen had stopped picking up food. The most shocked person was none other than the finely dressed man. He choked on his wine and coughed endlessly. Dang! Xiao Chen put down the wine cup in his hand heavily. Then he raised his head and looked at Dugu Ao with a sharp gaze. He said, "I was just looking for someone to practice with. You are a pretty good opponent. However, this place is too small. I believe you feel restricted as well. How about we go somewhere else?" Dugu Ao was indeed a pretty good opponent. Xiao Chen was not lying when he said that. Dugu Ao was strong even among the consummation blue-robed emperors. Dugu Ao's earlier punch had been executed in a moment of desperation. There were countless openings. Even though Xiao Chen easily forced him back with two chopsticks, he could not deny Dugu Ao's strength. Xiao Chen could clearly recognize this point. If Xiao Chen wanted to defeat Dugu Ao, he would have to put in some effort. After all, Dugu Ao was 20-odd years older than Xiao Chen and possessed great talent. Furthermore, he was a demon mixed blood. However, that was all to it. Dugu Ao was just slightly harder to deal with, not enough to scare Xiao Chen. Dugu Ao was young and frivolous, brimming with vigor. How could he endure such provocation? He grinned and said, "It is just some flashy moves, and you dare to spout nonsense in front of me. You are truly bold. I will do as you wish. You can choose any location in this treasure dragon city. The two of you are outstanding young talents. There is no need to make such a big fuss over such a small matter." Just as the two prepared to make a move, a voice rang out in their minds at the same time. This was a voice projection. Furthermore, it was sent to two people at the same time. The technique was very exquisite. Xiao Chen's and Dugu Ao's expressions changed at the same time. They both sent out their senses, trying to find the person who sent the voice projection. In the end, the two were somewhat shocked to discover that they could not find the person who sent the voice projection at all. He had seen the two's every move and was clearly not far away. However, with the two's cultivations, they did not discover the other party immediately. Xiao Chen swept out with his spiritual sense and could only determine a rough direction. The person who sent the voice transmission should be in a private room on the 5th floor. However, they did not know which booth it was. The cultivation of the person who sent the voice projection should be much higher than theirs. Half-step Emperor Wu. In their minds, these 4 words appeared at the same time. There was actually a half-step Emperor Wu in this restaurant. Immediately, they did not dare to act rashly. They did not know what the person who sent the voice transmission was planning. There's no need to keep looking. If the two of you are willing to stop here, you can stay at this restaurant tonight at noon. I will give you a good fortune. The meaning behind his words was clear. He fancied the strength of the two of them and wanted their help. When Dugu Ao heard that, he relaxed. This was not the first time he encountered such a thing. In the Dragongrave Sea, those who wanted to adventure in the Dragongrave Sea would usually team up and explore together. Aside from a few bold and talented people, very few people would travel alone. However, this was Dugu Ao's first time encountering a half-step Emperor Wu wanting to team up. This immediately piqued his interest. Consider yourself lucky. There's something going on today, so I'll let you live for a few more days. Dugu Ao smiled proudly and ignored Xiaochen. Then, he went to another table and started eating. Xiaochen also guessed the intention of this person. However, he did not know what the other party was up to, so he decided to wait and see first. When the person who sent the voice projection saw that the two did not make another move, he stopped speaking. Clearly, he already had the two in his grasp. Ao Jiao, do you think I should go on this trip? Xiaochen was originally planning to leave. When he suddenly received such an invitation, he could not help feeling interested. Why not? This person is so secretive. Furthermore, with the strength of a half-step Emperor Wu, he still wants to find helpers. Clearly, the dragon grave that he wants to explore is extraordinary. Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, rationally continued her analysis for Xiaochen. The most important thing is that with your current strength, you should be able to escape unscathed from a half-step Emperor Wu. You can consider yourself qualified to work with this person. You do not have to fear him playing any tricks. In that case, I'll listen to you. I'll go and see what's going on tonight. A tense battle suddenly came to a halt. This confused several of the cultivators on the second floor. However, this was the Dragon Grave Sea. There would never be a lack of topics to talk about. Soon, the restaurant regained its bustle. Xiaochen returned to his room and took out an essence stone to cultivate. Then, he quietly waited for the other party to summon him. The cultivation of the essence stone allowed Xiaochen's cultivation speed to improve at a gratifying rate. It had only been a short month since Xiaochen left the Black Sea. However, he already reached the peak of great perfection blue-robed emperor. Right now, Xiaochen was using the essence stone to temper his cultivation, laying down a good foundation. After cultivating to the peak of great perfection blue-robed emperor, Xiaochen's heavenly laws had already doubled, reaching more than 20,000. Furthermore, as Xiaochen continuously tempered his heavenly laws, they became extremely dense, not loose at all. There would not be a situation where the heavenly laws only had quantity but no quality. Now, Xiaochen only needed to continue tempering his heavenly laws and obtain the flower of life and death fruit. Then, he could use the life and death art to condense a heart of an emperor and break through to consummation blue-robed emperor. The night was as cool as water, and the moonlight was clear. Xiaochen, who was cultivating, heard soft footsteps. He opened his eyes and stopped cultivating, knowing that the news he was waiting for had arrived. Someone knocked on the door. A manservant outside said, "Dear guest, there is an honored guest in a private room on the 5th floor who has an invitation for you." Xiaochen pushed the door open and accepted the invitation. After asking which private room it was, he sent the manservant away. There was no content in the invitation. It was just an invitation that did not reveal anything, making it seem extremely mysterious. "I hope that you will not disappoint me." After putting away the invitation, Xiaochen carried some anticipation and caution as he went to the 5th floor and knocked on the door to the private room. After presenting the invitation, someone invited him in. It turned out that there was a secret room inside. There was a secret pavilion in the private room. There were many people in the secret pavilion. Including Dugu Ao, who had already arrived, there were a total of 9 people. Including Xiaochen, there were 10. With a cursory glance, Xiaochen had a rough idea of the situation. Aside from the black-clad old man sitting in the middle, who was the half-step Emperor Wu, the other 8 people were all consummation blue-robed emperor cultivators. The other 8 were all consummation quasi-emperors. Furthermore, they were more or less on the same level as Dugu Ao. Regardless of whether they were stronger or weaker, they all hid very deeply. A middle-aged couple sat on the right. They carried swords on their backs. Among the group of ruthless people, they were the ones with the least evil aura. Beside the half-step Emperor Wu was an extremely aged old man. This person was probably the oldest in the entire secret pavilion. Xiaochen estimated that he was at least 800 years old. This old man wore a straw raincoat and looked very aged. He looked like he did not care about the affairs of the world. When he saw Xiaochen arrive, he did not even bat an eyelid. There was also a great fatso with a lustful expression. He did not hide his gaze as he stared at the pretty, middle-aged woman with the sword on her back, making that middle-aged swordsman very unhappy. The remaining 3 were 2 women and 1 man. They were all from the fiend race. Their baleful auras were very dense. Who knew how much blood they had on them? One of the women was from the poison spider race. She used black spider silk to make an indistinct spider silk robe. She had a voluptuous figure and a sinister face, giving off an enchanting air. The poison spider race was considered a rather rare fiend race in the oceanic world. Xiao Chen's gaze lingered on them for a while longer. One of the women was from the silver shark race. She wore a black veil on her head and showed a cold expression. Xiao Chen could not make out what she was thinking. The other was a fiend race man from the huge elephant race. He had dark skin. When he saw Xiao Chen arrive, he appeared extremely hostile. This was an extremely elite and luxurious team. Not only did they have the half-step Emperor Wu leading them, but the consummation blue-robed emperor that came was also an excellent one. With such a strong team, what kind of dragon grave could they not enter? Yet, the leader of this team was still worried, inviting Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao over. Boss Yang, even if you cannot find anyone, you don't have to make up the numbers. You even managed to recruit the great perfection blue-robed emperor, the huge elephant race man said indifferently when he saw Xiao Chen's hostile expression. Not just anyone can go. Don't throw your life away. After saying that, the huge elephant race man took a step forward and placed his hand on Xiao Chen's shoulder. Then he exerted force, wanting to push Xiao Chen out. The huge elephant race was famous for their boundless strength. They were born with great physical strength. Just a gentle push from them could exert millions of kilograms of force. Everyone knew that the speed at which vital qi circulated was much faster than law energy or veritable essence energy. With a thought, one could send out their vital qi. When several people saw the dark-skinned man suddenly make a move, they expected what would happen next. Xiao Chen would definitely get pushed out and crash into the walls of the secret pavilion. However, to their surprise, when the dark-skinned man made his move, Xiao Chen, who was wearing the fleeting shadow gloves, arrived first and placed his hand on the dark-skinned man's shoulder. After that, there was a loud bang, and the dark-skinned man's body shot out like a cannonball. Then he fell to the ground, caught off guard. This scene was rather comical. When everyone saw this scene, their eyes lit up. When they looked at Xiao Chen again, they all revealed cautious expressions. This was especially so for Dugu Ao, who was clearly surprised. He had not expected Xiao Chen to have such great physical strength aside from his flashy actions. While Xiao Chen's speed was a factor in pushing the huge elephant race cultivator away, his physical strength could not be underestimated. Enough. There is no need for you to test the person I chose. The half-step Emperor Wu raised his head and rapped the table, shouting to stop the dark-skinned man, who wanted to get up and continue fighting. Everyone has no objections to Dugu Ao's strength. I believe everyone has no objections to this little brother's strength, right? Yang Kai said indifferently. To be able to make a giant elephant race cultivator suffer such a great disadvantage in terms of vital qi, how could we have any objections? The fatty said with a smile, making the dark-skinned giant elephant race man extremely unhappy. However, due to Yang Kai's face, the dark-skinned man could not lose his temper, so he could only endure sullenly. All the cultivators expressed that they had no objections. After Yang Kai introduced himself, he looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Since little brother is here, you must have guessed some of my thoughts. In that case, I'll make it short." This old man discovered an 8-star dragon grave that no one has visited before in this dragon grave sea. If little brother is interested, you can join us. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.